And we are back. Couch Company Podcast. I'm John. With me, as always, Tyler.
Hey, it's me. I'm jamming to this music slowly.
See, what you're doing, though, doesn't even matter, right? Because it's all baked in.
I feel like what we're listening to right now is a little bit closer to what people listen to.
It doesn't go on that long.
You don't think?
No.
Maybe I need to make it longer.
Because you just finished right now.
Yeah.
And I'll be comparing this when I listen to it.
Okay.
We'll see how off
All right,
you are.
I'm about to tweak it.
Oh, that's against the rules.
Yeah. What's going on?
Not much, dude.
Yep.
Things are... I was actually thinking about this earlier today. I'm very much in my gaming mood. And this is like the point of the year where we prove that we are a gaming podcast.
Where we're just constantly playing video games, or talking about them anyway.
Talking about them,
Yeah.
pretending to play them. Actually playing them. I've been playing a lot of Diablo, which we'll talk about. But
My poor father-in-law is like, I listened to this one episode, and the title seemed like it was something that wasn't video game related. I was wrong.
which one was that?
I don't remember, but it was like,
man.
it was funny because it was the Would You Rather episode, and he was like,
Yeah.
I went through like 90% of it. I'm like, yeah, it was like the last maybe like 10 minutes we did some Would
I can't even remember what the Would You Rathers were. Like
Yeah, I don't either.
that was like such
I
a
don't know.
small part of that.
Yeah.
You named it that. That's hilarious.
We still have to do, and this might actually is a little peek behind the curtain because we're trying to decide like what
I
we're
hate
doing
when you
here.
say that.
I know, I love
it makes me
gotta do it
so bad every time, dude.
Well, how do you think I say it? We still have to take the compatibility love test.
Yeah.
So that would be
That
a
could
good
be an
one.
idea.
That'd be a good one.
Okay.
Ultimately, that should be for Valentine's Day. We're just a little late.
I actually we did like one of those personality tests at work today.
Oh yeah,
For some reason.
like
I
the A
Yeah.
S T.
Yeah. And
Alright.
I wanted to send that to you.
What'd you
And
get?
I got the I don't even remember what it's called. Gotta look it up now.
It's like the supporter.
No, I'm not a supporter.
Oh,
I'm a carry, dude.
you're carry.
Carrying everyone, bro.
You should. That would be do a League of Legends personality.
That'd be
test.
awesome.
Like
I
that
should-
seems easy.
I'm a campaigner.
Campaigner.
Yeah.
Do you have like a little cartoon? Is that the one you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is I wanted to send that to you.
Yeah.
That's something we could do too. We could do, maybe that's one episode where we do our love compatibility and
Sure.
also that.
Okay. But
And
like
then because-
real time?
Well, I already have my results. You would have your results.
Yeah.
The love compatibility, I don't know what's involved because that was your idea.
It was some psychiatrist that did like 35 questions.
Yeah.
And you have to answer like with your,
So we could do that
partner.
live.
Yeah.
But the other one, we would have the results.
Okay.
And we read each other's results
Love
to
it.
see how accurate it
Yeah.
is.
You know, I think I told this before. My cousin, she can recall anybody's like letter. Like they gave you what, like 4 letters or
Yeah.
something, 4 or 5
Yeah,
letters.
yeah.
I could text her right now and be like, hey, and I've done this multiple times, but she's like, what's my 4 letters? And she'll spout them out.
Ba, 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 ba.
But mine's changed over the past years.
Yeah.
So she'll be like, well, you used to be blah, 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 blah.
Wow,
But now
that's
you're
good.
blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, oh, man. Okay.
So I think I've done this one before, and I changed, but I think I'm in the same category, so that makes
Yeah.
me feel good at least.
I think every time I do this, it's tough to do the results based off of actually you, right?
Yeah.
So like, truthfully, only you know you. So no one else can take the test for you to be like somewhat like kind of like unbiased or whatever.
Right.
But even yourself, you're like, well, you start making up all these scenarios in your head of
Right.
like, if it was this scenario, I would totally want to be this type of person.
Yep.
But then you have to be brutally honest with yourself, like, no, you're an ass.
Yep.
Like, and then you have to put it down.
I was trying to be more like that this time.
Every
'cause I
time you
think-
do it, it's
Yeah, you're never going to get the true result. That's why I think if there was a component to it where someone else, that knows you pretty well, quote unquote,
Yeah.
kind of works. Like, obviously, you can't just have them because, like, there's going to be things that you don't reveal to anyone.
Right.
That you
It's
keep
like your inner thoughts.
deep stuffed away in a locked drawer
Yeah.
in your heart.
Uh-huh.
Never see the light of day
Never.
ever.
Never ever.
And,
Except in this compatibility or this.
but I think there's
personality
also
test.
an aspect to it, like your own voice, for example, right? You kind of jump when you hear your own voice sometimes if you're not used to it
Yeah.
because you're always used to hearing it in your own head.
As we say on episode 99.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty used to it by now.
Sure.
Do you still recoil when you hear your own voice?
No.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, we're literally hearing ourselves in these headsets right now. You know?
Yeah,
So
it's pretty
kinda,
accurate, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, when you listen to it on like different devices and stuff, it's really interesting. Which brings me to a story. I'm totally just going way off track here.
You did what I did the other day, where you got a glimpse in my mind that I fractured.
Tyler, we were at Permanis, and Tyler was like nice bumblebee, like nicely buzzed. And when you're just feeling great, and I could just see his artist brain fire, like the neurons just going rapid fire.
I'm glad you understood me, because Nate just stopped listening. He was just like, I don't even know what you're trying to say.
That's why we work, because I'm there, dude. I'm like straight manic.
Yeah.
500 thoughts at the same time, which I'm doing right now, by the way. So that was awesome. Just a straight spiral. It was hilarious.
You get me.
Anyways, bringing it back one step into listening on different devices. In college, so I went to school for music, and one of my professors, Mike Tamaro, dude, best arranger in the game.
Okay.
Like everyone would go to this guy to like arrange things, and it was crazy. He could do it in like a day. He could like arrange a whole tune. Anyways, our jazz band like every year would put on a show and have like a theme. So like one year was like Michael Jackson. It was like a theme like that, right?
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire was one year or so. And he would arrange all these tunes for big band. It was super sweet. So doing that, he has to listen to all those tracks, right? And he would tell us his process in doing this, and he would listen to these tunes on every type of speaker he could get his hands on. So like his really nice headphones, he would put in earbuds. He would listen to it on his cell phone, because he told us, like in the car, he'd turn it on, and he told us like every time he uses like a different, output that he's listening it through, he like finds something different. Yeah. Whether it's like on the high end, like he never heard that line before on something else. It's like, it was super cool kind of seeing inside his process a little bit. Yeah. He's like a genius, dude. He's so crazy.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's interesting because that's so he is good at that. I'm sure he's good at other stuff, but like that's his thing. Like that's his niche. Like that's what he does.
That's his thing. I mean, he's a beast, like player. So he's a saxophonist. Plays the sax, and he's a beast. Like he can play. Like you know what I mean. But I would say, that's probably what he's known for, I'd imagine.
Sure. Yeah.
But that was fun. Those were fun days.
Yeah, doing stuff like this. Like I listen to decent headphones on my computer, and whenever you're putting it on your phone, I feel like we sound pretty good. Car speakers, I think we sound pretty good. Like if anything, I got to pull like bass back. You always want to have like nice bass, and you're just like, oh, it sounds really good and stuff like that. But you can overpower it, so easily. That's kind of my biggest thing. That and like the moment I went to mono instead of stereo, like you need like for podcast, put it in mono.
Yeah.
Like period.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's probably better to err on the more bass side, though, because if you get that treble coming in like super loud, it's just...
Yeah, so the mids are gone. There was a point, like when we first started, like if you go way, way back, we were EQing. Oh, I was EQing a ton, right? Like I was doing it. And that was the best advice that my father-in-law gave me. It was just like, hey, just let these mics do what they do. Like they're good, like they're fine, right? Like so... I actually think overall I like our Procasters more than these SM7Bs. Like these are like the Joe Rogan ones, right?
Yeah.
Like these are like this is what everyone uses. Michael Jackson used it, so everyone has to.
What?
Yeah, Michael Jackson uses it in like Thriller.
I gotcha.
They're fine. I don't know. Like I like these just because they cancel out our plosives a lot better than the Procasters did.
Yeah, no, honestly, when you get to the high end, dude, the differences are very minute at that point. So you're really, like to someone like us who like really cares about it, of course, there's definitely preference there. But I would say to the average listener, you get to a certain threshold and it's like, oh, it's just a good microphone.
Yeah, but there's also like a crispiness to it. You're absolutely right. I just think that like when we ever have guests on, there's a reason why. Like, I feel like we're melding pretty good. And if we had the same microphone for the guests, I feel like everything would be fine. And maybe it's just myself, and maybe I'm just kind of, telling everybody their little thing or whatever. But yeah, like, we have like Jeff on or like Mike on or something. when they use that extra microphone, it's such a different type.
Yeah.
That, like me, it's like glaring. Like I can totally
yeah.
hear it. I'm just like, oh, like it sounds good. It's fine.
Yeah, if you have them next to each other,
yeah,
like speaking at the same time, of course. Yeah, for sure. No,
I would love to have like, and technically my father-in-law did this forever ago, and I would love for him to like come back in and just try it again. But I would love to get like each of our voices EQ'd like professionally.
Yeah.
And just set it and forget it. Like, okay, cool. This is your EQ. This is mine. Here you go. And you're done. And like, you never have to touch it again. But like,
that would be your house is built.
Yeah.
And then that's when we do it in the studio.
Hopefully by like August, man.
Yeah. Dude, that would be awesome.
We do need to figure out how to do guests there. That's the only thing that I really haven't been thinking too hard about. So we'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
100%. Anyways, to get back to the original point, since I was 3 points over, I'm in gaming mode, man. We're a gaming podcast.
Games.
Although I did throw a bone out there for your father-in-law.
Yeah.
For because you were saying he was
just reel him in,
trying to not hear about games for a second. So there was a little music talk in there for like a minute. And here comes the next 2 hours.
We're leisure.
Yeah.
That's our
Is
category.
it actually?
Yeah.
I think the
on Apple, I think it's leisure.
On Apple.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Spotify.
The meme is still the gaming thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, regardless, there are 2 points in the year where I'm at my most hype point in gaming, and that's in the middle of summer and at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yep. So you have Summer Games Fest that comes out, and well, these days, like
E3, but not.
Yeah, it used to be E3, right? Like
Jeff
it used to be
Keighley
E3.
just came in and took everybody's lunch.
Does Jeff Keighley, is that like his only job, just to do these 2 things per year? Because that would be just like the greatest job of all time.
Like it, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
He's turning it into something crazy. Yeah,
he just disappears in his cave for
I swear
6
he
months.
used to be on GameStop television. Like that used
GameStop.
to be his, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look into his history. Anyways, so you used to have like E3. Now you have Summer Games Fest, and then honestly, a lot of developers just have their own thing, and that's probably what the future is going to look like.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, you have like the Game Awards or whatever, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But those are my 2 most hype moments. You know, you see all these trailers, all the announcements, the anticipation. I love that stuff. I live for it, and I'm really happy that we're being more involved in it because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Before your hopes and dreams are crushed when the game comes out, and just the PC ports are just inevitably horrible.
I mean, look, as long as my cousin doesn't say anything, if he
your
likes
cousin
it or
should be
like,
banned from ever talking about. What was it, Redfall? That he was
Redfall was one of them,
probably bought a T-shirt and everything.
I like teasing them, yeah.
Is that Justin?
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin.
Yeah.
Anyways, most hype. So we talked about Summer Games Fest last week, and I think
which we were high on. It looked good.
Yeah. Did you conclude if you liked PlayStation? Because PlayStation just came out.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Xbox today, so I'm curious, like that comparison. But like, is there comparable to the PlayStation showcase, higher, lower?
Yeah. I think PlayStation, for me, PlayStation eked it out a little bit, just because it was like tighter.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, here's 40 minutes, here's game, and 20 of those minutes were Spider-Man, right? So like,
right.
Here you go.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man was a great showing. I think you got hyped for specifically PlayStation. Summer Games Fest, obviously a different thing. Personally, I think I was probably drawn more towards those games just because I like the indie diamond in the rough, like, oh man, I played this for 12 hours and I got like super into it, but like, and then there's like a definitive cutoff end point of that game. And I'm always looking for the next one of those. So like Dredge was earlier this year. I don't want to put Hi-Fi Rush in there, but you could, I suppose. I like those type of games that just come out of nowhere. So I think Games Fest is closer to that, where Sony is more of a known quantity. Like, yep, all of these games are going to be good on PlayStation, sure,
Yeah, I agree. I think you're exactly right. The presentation in Sony, probably cleaner. Definitely cleaner, I would say.
Taking away maybe like the VR stuff. I just
Wow.
don't care about.
They just have to. I mean,
Yeah,
they're trying to
sure.
sell, but yeah, 100%.
Hey, we're Beat Sabers on VR. Like,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
that was,
cool.
like,
Like,
such a
shocker.
snooze.
Why didn't it like sell with that? You know?
It was VR hour and then into, okay, here's Spider-Man for the next 30
all right,
minutes.
This is what you wanted. Sorry. Yeah.
But to be fair, Summer Games Fest was, okay, here's all the mobile games, and then here's our secret finale announcement, which was Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So similar formula. They're just putting the dog shit right before the last announcement. So yeah, cleaner presentation from Sony, but no like surprises really.
Yeah.
Everything was like a known quantity more or less.
Every one of those Bloodborne gets talked about maybe like a week prior.
Oh,
And
that
it's
happens
like,
like every time.
Bloodborne 2, baby.
Bloodborne 2 when? But then Summer Games Fest was more surprises. Like we got to see Mortal Kombat, which I don't think anyone was on.
We knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming, but we didn't know it was going to be there. Like we knew Spider-Man was
Yeah.
going to be showed at
Yeah,
PlayStation, for
that's fair,
example, right?
sure.
And then Final Fantasy was total shock. Nobody knew that was coming because the
Right.
thought right now is, okay, they're only going to show things till after FF16 launches.
Yeah.
But no, they had a whole trailer for that.
I don't know. So was Prince of Persia Xbox?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so I
that
don't
was
wanna skip
actually
it.
well,
Was it
yes,
Summer Games
Xbox
Fest or Xbox?
It was Xbox and Ubisoft.
Right, but I didn't know if it.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, not Summer Games, sorry.
Because I was going to say that was a surprise for me.
Yeah,
But I
we'll
don't wanna
talk
skip
about the
ahead.
we'll talk about
Yeah.
that one. I think I'm going to say Summer Games Fest probably I liked more, just because
Okay.
of the surprise factor. Which, as I was explaining, I like
Shocker,
that
you
excitement.
really like
I
Final
that
Fantasy.
excitement. Dude.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be a hot take. It's time for John's hot take of
Sure,
the day.
yeah.
Like you're not going to like this one.
Okay.
I think the Final Fantasy VII new trilogy, the retelling of the original story, this new trilogy,
Oh, don't say it.
could be the greatest trilogy of all time. It could be the greatest video game trilogy of all time if executed correctly. Sit with that for a second, dude.
Yeah, like I mean,
I really, in my heart, believe that. I just,
at face value, sure, you could be right because there's one game out,
right.
so
And
you have a third of a game to.
yes, of course. That's why it's a hot take. Because I'm putting it all on the line.
I will say this.
Okay.
Actually, I don't even know if I could say this.
Just say it and then take it back later.
So Final Fantasy. What's the first one called?
Remake.
Oh, really? That's it?
Yep.
That's lame. Final Fantasy remake. Like, why isn't it just Final Fantasy VII Part 1? Or Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, Part 2, Part 3? Like,
I actually like the naming convention. At first, I thought it was like, okay, it's just Final Fantasy VII Remake.
yeah.
But then when they come out with the second one, and once you go through the story of the first one, it's like a double meaning kind of thing. And
I guess you could
You get
kind
into
of
the
see it as its own game. So
Yeah.
they don't want, maybe there's like a drop off of like, well, I didn't play the first one,
Oh, yeah.
so I can't buy the second one.
that's a very real thing. Like
Yeah.
they're getting away from numbered
Yeah.
game. It's like a very, I don't know if it's the same kind of concept.
Well, they were just talking about 16, how they're like, this might be the last numbered
right,
one.
right. I don't know if it's the same concept, but if you look at like a Let's Play on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
if you number your Let's Play, dude, the viewership
Oh,
just
like we do?
tanks.
Yeah. Is that?
Oh, we
Is
have
that-
how many Let's Plays do we have?
Like 3 or 4.
I don't think we did number ours, did we?
In the artwork, I did, yeah.
Yes, but in the title you
The
didn't.
title, I didn't, yeah.
That I think that's where the key is.
Okay.
You want a unique title to draw in your audience.
Yeah.
And if it's like Balloon Tower Defense episode 13, unless you're all the way caught up,
Yeah.
you're not going to click on it. But if it's Balloon Tower Defense, I can't believe this ZOMG
Yes.
got here.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know. Something, you know
No,
what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I think it's too early to say that. I think it looks very
100%
good.
is too early. That's why it's a hot take.
But are you saying that
Spicy
the
take.
remake is a better game than Mass Effect 1 then? So you like the remake more than ME1?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Personally.
All right.
ME1 is definitely probably
we knew
Ooh.
so like we knew Mass Effect was going to be a trilogy
Yeah.
when the first one came out.
Yeah.
So that was getting set up as, hey, this is the first game. I remember like all your decisions carry over.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, Mass Effect 2 is what really solidified, like, because ME1 comes out and it's a great game.
Mm-hmm.
But until you play Mass Effect 2 and you realize that my decisions actually do matter, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? Like in the first one, they do matter, but the fact that it carried over across games, which is like
both of them were important.
Yeah. Where it's like, oh no, this dude died. He's not in your playthrough, buddy.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh
no, you picked Ashley, you stuck
with her. And you're like, fuck.
She's a racist.
She is a space racist. That's true.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. I can't stand Ashley, but Jacob's like not a million times like
boring.
He's like okay.
Yeah.
I think
I feel like his name should have been Keith. Anyway, go on. Keep
not
going.
Jacob. His name's
Jacob's the black guy.
Yeah. Holy crap! I can't even think of his name.
Hey, that's
Caden.
how insignificant he is. Yeah.
Caden Alenko?
Yeah, you don't even like. Oh yeah, I got through the last name.
I gotta prove that I like this series. Anyways,
so
what am I
you
saying?
killed it. You already said that Final Fantasy is better than Mass Effect.
Well, I had to think about that. Here's the thing, dude. I don't know. This is pretty crazy for me because I am not a fanboy of Final Fantasy. Like, I did not play the OG FF7 when I was a kid. The game came out when I was born.
Does not hold up.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It does not hold up.
You're right. I think the story holds. I think the story is great.
The story is very cool. The game,
but this is what this game made me do. So this is my point. The remake was so good that I went and played the original game all the way through.
Yeah,
despite it being 26 years old. And yeah, it doesn't hold up graphically. It doesn't hold up mechanic wise. But I still played it because I was like, I am so intrigued. I like these characters so much.
I don't want to get too far in that. I think gameplay and mechanics are different. So I think it holds up mechanic wise. I think the gameplay is bad. Like the battle to battle running around and stuff. I think.
I think the random encounter model is dated.
Yeah, but I mean,
no.
You don't. So you think
remake doesn't have
remake
random.
Might not, but. Well, we can talk about it. We can speculate. It just seems like interesting. Like, do you think that they're going to have no random encounters then on like an open world?
I don't think it's going to be an open world.
You don't think? Okay.
I think it's going to be like large zones.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is, in my opinion, how you have to do it.
And when is this? Early next year that it's supposed to come out?
Yeah, first quarter next year. So, I don't know, man. All I'm saying is, I was not a Final Fantasy stan, right?
Yeah.
Like I played FF10, which was a great game. Like when I was a kid, I might have been the only one I played actually. Like PS2, seriously.
Yeah.
And then all these years later, I played that one, and it was like I was hooked, dude. I was in.
Yeah,
I was ready. So I
liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was as high on it as you and
you weren't.
Kyle and stuff, but like. I played it all the way through. Like I enjoyed it, and I did it not just for the podcast, right? Like it's not like I gotta like I liked it enough to be like, okay, I will complete it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like someone like Kyle, that's what I think. People might think it's like, oh, they love this game. It's their favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
Of course they're gonna say things like that. But I just want people to know. I'm not in that camp. I didn't have that experience. This is like a fresh, like, I think it was good enough to absolutely draw me into the world.
Yeah.
The characters I love. So I don't know. I think it's very good. Probably overhyping it.
Yeah, but I mean,
if I'm being honest, but a bold take's a bold take.
I mean, that's each of the conferences had kind of their big thing, right?
Yep.
So you had Spider-Man, you had Final Fantasy, and then we'll get to Starfield. But like, that was your kind of that was the difference between the PlayStation and Summer Games is specifically like Final Fantasy. So like the rest of the conference was kind of
there were some great moments, and we talked about it. You can listen to our previous episode where we break down
I guess for both,
Summer Games Fest and PlayStation if you go back even further. So
a
couple in a row here. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know, man. Like when I just got to see the world. I think they're doing a great job. I think it's so difficult, man. When you talk about a beloved series, like Resident Evil's killing it when it comes to their remakes as well. It's just like it is such a tall task to like. People love these games. These are people's favorite games of all time, man.
But like Resident Evil doesn't hold a candle to this. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like we were talking about like with the remake and remaster and different things like that. And Resident Evil is a remake for sure. But like. There's a remake thing, and like I would even say Resident Evil 2 is not even remotely close.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
What Final Fantasy did.
The reason I'm saying this could be the best trilogy of all time or at least the best remakes of all time, is because they're doing this thing where they might redefine what a remake can be, where it's like we are telling the events of the original story, we're having all the set pieces that you remember, all the characters that you remember, and paying homage to them and doing them correctly. But we have this like other plot going on. It's like, and it might not work. It might just be terrible and too convoluted and stuff, but like I see where they're going, and that's why I say if it's executed well, I think it could be special.
As long as you liked the first game, or as long as you were aware or understood what the first game was and where the differences convert.
Yeah, it is divisive, for sure. But I respect that. I mean, that's such a bold. Like I think years from now, people will look back and say, "Wow, like what a
vision!
What a vision! Exactly."
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Do you think Aerith dies?
I don't know. That's. You know why I think she might not die? Her voice actress is so good. Is that crazy to say? Like when you're in a movie and you have like such an amazing actor, that it's like, okay, this dude's safe or this chick's safe.
Oh man, I thought her lines in the trailer were cringy.
Really?
The delivery, yeah.
Oh,
like I don't know.
Interesting.
And that's just me
maybe
pulling it out because I can't remember what she said. It was just like it's the classic.
Oh, the Earth.
Show. Yeah. It's just like
she always says shit like that.
Yeah,
though. I think she's great. I loved her in the first game. Yeah.
Dude, there's a big like. I really like Jesse. that was the problem.
That was the shock of the century, dude.
Oh,
everyone's saying like,
no. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think everyone that I know at least is like Tifa's best.
Yeah, I mean that was who I picked.
But it was always supposed to be between Tifa and Aerith, and that's like, guys, have you seen Jesse?
Yeah,
but they completely. I mean, there's things like that though.
But
like she had like 5 lines in the original game,
right?
And then totally, you have a whole mission where you get to like see your family. Like that's amazing. That's amazing, right? And you can see the passion behind like the creators because in my mind they already knew all that stuff, and now they have an opportunity to like convey that to the audience.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that you can like tell that they really love and thought through everything.
Yep.
I don't know, just me. Maybe it's gonna suck. Maybe I'm gonna look silly.
It's a bold
call. Call my shot.
I will be shocked. Like for how good that first one is. We'll see. I mean,
I think they get it.
Hope so.
I think they like understand. It's like that fine balance. You have to you want to innovate and do something new, but you have to respect the legacy. And the first one, I think they did it really well. So
I'm sure they haven't, but they didn't like give guidance on if you play it because like I played on PlayStation or on PC, right?
Yep.
Probably now I have a PS5, so I'm just gonna play it when it comes out. I don't want to wait for it.
Right.
Like, how do I get my? I don't have my save file, and I maybe in some weird way, like I don't care. It's not like I like was grinding like crazy to get like all the best gear and best stuff like that.
I don't know if you're gonna port things out. I think you might just have to start fresh.
But that's such a weird thing too.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like in the original game, it's obviously one game.
Sure,
So
and like by the time by the time like where you're going to be in the second game, like you're
a couple hours
more powerful than where you were. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, but I don't want to make this a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just was really excited about that, and I wanted to share my.
It's good to have context on where you were and how high you were on that.
Yes.
As we go in to the Xbox showcase, what Xbox? What was it officially called?
Xbox, showcase, I think. Okay. We might be wrong, but
sure.
Not to poo-poo Sony's thing, but Spider-Man was very cool. But to me, it was like more of the same. So
yeah, everyone keeps saying that. I don't know why I thought it was like, and maybe it's just been a while since I actually played Spider-Man. I thought it was like they showed enough that I was like, okay, this is different.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, the Venom stuff and being able to switch with Miles.
Yeah,
definitely.
Like the different character. Like it's not like Doc Ock popped back up and was like yelling and monologuing and stuff. Like it's like all new enemies and characters and stuff. Like I was like, okay,
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great game. Like you can just tell.
But also, I did not play Miles Morales, so it's one of those like,
me
do
neither.
I play that? Like I really
Maybe
want
that's
to. But if you play that, and then is that going to be too much Spider-Man?
Yeah, that's risky. That's something to consider.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, okay. Just wanted to note down the past two episodes there. Xbox Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty lackluster. Is that fair to say? Let's go through it. I mean, I don't think I wrote this one down. I said I was going to, but that's my bad. But they open with Fable, right?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that? Because that was probably one of the bigger ones. They tried to start off with a bigger one there.
I was confused.
No pun intended.
I was confused because we came in late. Like we actually were like, we were playing Diablo. We're like, hey, it's starting. So we came in and there's like a giant and he's like attacking like this girl and you're just like, what is going on? So we rewatched that. Here's the thing. I was under the impression, and I'm pretty sure, that Microsoft said, hey, we're not going to do any CGI only trailers. So feasibly, unless they just lied there or forgot about, Fable, feasibly, there were sections of that trailer that were gameplay. So if that's the case, Fable could look pretty good, visually speaking.
Right.
Beyond that, I could not care less about Fable. Like, and we'll talk about this later. We have our preconceived notions of Starfield. Neither of us gave a crap about Starfield. I say that past tense. Maybe that's a little foreshadowing.
Yes.
Don't care about Starfield.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Fable, same thing. Don't care about Fable. This didn't like move the needle. And if anything, it moved it where I'm like, yep, still don't care about Fable. And then that's it.
I've never played Fable.
Yeah.
And my cousin, it's probably one of his favorite games.
The first one.
The first one, okay. Yeah. Which this is like a rebooting of the series.
Yeah, like Peter Molyneux was kind of like, he was like the Kojima of the Fable side. Like he was the face of Fable.
That's a high.
I don't.
Kojima.
Well, you know how Kojima is like, hey, if you say Metal Gear Solid, you think it's Kojima. If you
not anymore though.
Right.
Oh.
If you do Fable, it's Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
Peter Molyneux hasn't done that for a decade plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, they need to reboot it, and everything. Like they didn't show anything to be like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, they had a little bit of humor.
I thought it was pretty funny. I didn't think it was cringy. I thought it was.
They specifically said British humor, so if that's your cup of tea or whatever, like sure, get it. How's it? Yeah,
nicely done.
And they threw a chicken, right, which was one of the things you could do in Fable.
Okay,
so it's like you did the thing, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But Fable was really cool because as you did good deeds or bad deeds, your character changed significantly throughout the game. So like in Fable 3, if you were just always bad, you're growing like horns and just being like this evil son of a gun. I wonder if they bring that back. Like I'm trying to think of like what is Fable, right? And I'm sure fans of Fable could list out like all these things. But having played 2 and 3, a little bit of 1, but like specifically 2, and then I played a ton of 3. I can't really tell you like what it is. Like, yeah, it's a third person, like kind of run around, do quests, like almost like an EverQuest type of thing. It's just, I know it's not, but that's like where my head goes. But like Gears of War, you could list out, here are the things you need in a Gears of War game. Halo, same difference. And I'm just like Forza, whatever. But like all these Microsoft properties, you can like list these things out. Fable's like, a decade plus goes by. Would you just reinvent the game? Like, do you completely say, okay, like starting from scratch?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know how you bring in anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. We didn't get much from the like no gameplay or anything, so it's all
exactly.
Like here's the they're trying to set the tone, I guess. And I think they did an okay job of it. I mean, like I said, I thought it was kind of funny and.
It's one of those things like before, I guess it was last year when they just said, here's what we're working on. And they just showed Fable, right? And everyone like was cheering and everything like, okay, they finally announced it. You could have taken the trailer from this one, put it out last year, and it would have been the same thing in my mind. Anyway, I don't want to like poo-poo it, but it's just like,
No, I got you. I think that's a fair critique of it.
Yeah.
So, I have the IGN's recap here, and I don't think this is in order, so I apologize.
Nah, that's fine.
But Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty gets a trailer release date.
I did
thoughts on this?
So we talked about this during the stream. I'm very interested to see how they make it work because I really liked my ending and I don't want them to mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
They did say that there's additional ending, at least one, if not more.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's just like, what does that entail? You know?
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Since there's a bunch of endings, kind of spoiler, but like a lot of which like this is not going to make sense, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Luckily for me, my ending makes perfect sense for what they showed, so that's fortunate. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting because that might take you out of it. So maybe it's a thing where it's like either you have to restart or maybe you can just do this separately.
If I could do
it,
if I could do like a standalone, like, hey, whatever you played, that was like this is like a Miles Morales-esque type of thing. Sure, I'll play it.
I like it. I mean, I really enjoyed Cyberpunk. Like back when we talked about it, I know because I got it later, right? I didn't get it on release, and I dodged a lot of those issues that people were having, and I thought it was a really fun experience. Not a perfect game, but definitely some really great things. So
I would like an excuse to get back in there that doesn't involve starting over. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing is I was like, I want to see kind of all the work they did. It ran really nice, but I'm like, I spent 25, 30 hours in this game, if not more. Like I don't want to redo it all.
I did significant. I didn't 100% it, but I did a lot of stuff. Like there were some areas I 100%ed, and
I mean, Mike went like he was doing multiple playthroughs and stuff. Like it hit home with him. So it's just like a lot of people liked it. I get it.
Yeah, if you find your thing in that game.
Yeah.
Like for me, I did a sneaky archer because I'm contractually obligated to play that in any game.
Default.
Where that's. And we'll talk about Starfield, but dude, it's just the best way to play video games. In my opinion.
I wish they did more with that kind of stuff. Like I weirdly enough, I actually towards the end was getting into just run and gun and just like blasting things. I'm like, kind of wish I just played this thing like this way the whole time.
The stealth wasn't great. Like
that's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Like you would think
but it was
better.
Fun enough. Where it's like when things do line up and you're sneaking past everyone, it feels really cool, and then it feels really good to like, hey, here's a bounty on a guy. There's a whole group of guys. You get a nice vantage point because you can hack into a door, get up to like the roof, snipe the guy in one shot, leave. Everyone's freaking out, and you get your credits. Those are like the moments I live for, right? So you can do some neat things in the game. And I had a good time with it, so I'm excited.
Idris Elba's in there.
Yes.
So I added him in.
Yeah, that's going to be great because Keanu Reeves did a great job as Johnny. So
yeah, I was still surprised how much I actually ended up liking him in that role because I don't think he's a great voice actor per se.
Yeah, it's like, you know exactly. I mean, they're not hiding the ball. I mean, he looks exactly like, it's like he's in a movie kind of, right?
Yeah.
I kind of think like... it was kind of jarring at first because you're used to him playing the good guy. Mm-hmm. And I knew there was that one thing you were talking about where maybe this like short cameo or something where he's like an asshole and he does a really good job.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah. But I never saw that. So like I wasn't used to that. So it was a little jarring at first, but as the game progressed, I was like, oh, okay, he's great. I mean, it's so hard to not like the guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's something. I think that'll be cool.
When does that come out? Do they have a release date for that?
September 26th.
Wow.
So yeah, I guess that's this year, right? Dang.
That's at this point. Because again, we'll talk about it, but like Starfield comes out September 6th, right, or September 9th.
September 9th. Baldur's Gate 3 comes out in September.
Like it's crazy that people don't care about that stuff, or maybe they do. Maybe you'll start seeing some moves, but like that's nuts to have. Those even those just three. Massive RPGs like thrown in there.
Too much.
Unless maybe Cyberpunk isn't as big as we're thinking, but it's hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Avowed
Yeah.
coming in 2024. I don't know this one very well. It's, RPG, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not obvious, but did you have any thoughts on this one?
Was that the one with they showed that at the Games Fest too, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I'm trying to look at some pictures on this.
Yeah.
Advertisement. Yeah, you remember this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
I would actually, dude, honestly, kind of forgettable.
it's one of those
Obviously.
like we kept saying this, and maybe because we were watching like your stream from like a Discord thing, so we were limited to like 720p at like 30 frames. But it was like we were looking at the things from Games Fest and even PlayStation, and we kept saying like these games look good. Like we're in like a actual next gen. Like these are the true next gen games that are coming out because they're only on next gen systems. And for whatever reason, a lot of the games they were showing, I'm just like these look kind of like okay, I guess. Like it's not. None of them were like blowing me out of the water type of thing. I shouldn't say all, but like most of them were not like really blowing me out of the water.
Yeah, I agree.
This being one of them.
Like you said, it's tough to say, but honestly, just really forgettable. I mean, it's so tough these days. You have so much competition. You're going up against like Sequel City.
Just juggernauts.
Yeah. So it's like you really got to stand out one way or another. You know, be unique, do something cool. And this just seemed like, I don't know, I just could totally, I didn't even remember, like I had to look into it, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, that's coming out. So,
I mean,
maybe it'll be good.
I recognized the one green dude that you showed me, and I'm like, oh,
I did,
yeah, I do remember that.
And I was like, yeah, I can't remember.
But he was
else.
also the best looking thing in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like visually speaking.
Yeah.
Look, graphics aren't everything. Completely get that. And I hope, it's one of those like sleeper hits that just like, oh, this is great and whatnot.
Yeah. Xbox Series S, 1 terabyte.
Yeah, black.
Yeah. Coming September 1st. So
I mean, that's cool. That's right in time for Starfield.
$349.
Yeah.
Which is $50 more than the 512 gigabyte.
How much is the expansion? Or I wonder if you can even expand the S. I'm not super up on my Xbox consoles.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Why have an Xbox when you can have a PC? It's the same thing now.
Well, yeah, but the Series X is works pretty well for being $500.
No, I agree. Yeah, if you're not, I mean that makes sense. If you're not going hard on the PC thing, get an Xbox.
Yeah,
it's just easier.
We'll keep that in the back. Put a pin in that. We'll talk about it.
Pin in that. The next on the list is Starfield, but we're gonna save that for the end, of course.
Wild that they put the trailer for Starfield in there, and then. And I get it. Like maybe it's just just in case somebody doesn't stay for the 45-minute presentation at the end.
I think they were like, okay, people are going to be falling asleep right here. Let's remind them that we're going to be talking about Starfield at the end. I think it was like very calculated.
Right. It's like the Game Awards where they're like, and we'll be talking about the next Call of Duty or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. They're not dumb.
Yeah. You're right.
They got to show the Game Pass games. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Here's the average attention span of adult male.
Yep. Which I mean, the Game Pass games, like everything is on.
Oh, it's amazing.
Game Pass day
it's
one.
insane.
Like, it's a lot.
I mean, we talk about it all the time, but that just still blows my mind. I'm still waiting for the day that they take that away from me. You know that?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
They kept saying and again, I don't know how much of this is like we're trying to get the, Activision acquisition passed. But Phil Spencer was on the couch with Giant Bomb, and he kept saying, he's like, yeah, people really kind of like 2022 just wasn't a good year for Game Pass. Meanwhile, I'm thinking like, dude, you put a ton of stuff out on Game Pass for 2022, and it wasn't enough for people. It's just like, man, people are so entitled. Like
they forget so quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, the expectations they keep building too, and it's like it gets to an unsustainable place.
Yeah, like 2021, they said was great, and I'm like, yeah, sure, it's good. I don't even remember what came out in 2021, and then 2022 they're just like, yeah, we dropped the ball. I'm like, I think 2022 was fantastic. Like most of the games I played were on Game Pass.
Yeah. Well, you have a very specific taste, though, right? So I
guess, but I just like, what nerve if it's just like, well, I must have all my AAA games of just like, dude,
I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you. Okay, next up is South of Midnight. So just as a reminder, this is like the Bayou Swamp thing. The dude was playing guitar and the chick was walking up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, did you see this monster? And it was right behind her the whole time.
It's cool art style.
It was a very cool art style, but
No
it was
gameplay.
Yeah, it was a teaser, so it's like could be anything.
Here's the thing that worries me is all of these, like everything we've seen up to now, are all these studios that Microsoft purchased to make games.
Yeah,
And they purchased these back in like 2020, 2021 or whatever, maybe even earlier than that, I forget. But I get COVID, bottlenecks, problems, working remotely and all that stuff. Like I understand that. But like at some point, you got to start. You can't just keep saying like, "Wow, wait till next year, then you'll see the fruit of our purchases or whatever." Like at some point, people are going to be like, "Yeah, like."
I think we're approaching that point. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, like at this point, like don't. And I understand they have a list of things they need to get people hyped about certain things, but it's just like, just show gameplay. Like that's the thing that, like, if you want to change the hearts and minds of people, show gameplay. And if you can't, that's a big indicator, right? If you're too scared to show the gameplay because it's not there yet, cool, don't put it in. Or do a sizzle reel at the end saying, we're not ready to show these, but here you go. Here's everything, which they did the previous year with like Fable and stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Too hard on them probably, but
I don't know. I mean, like you got to consider the other showcases that were coming out, and there was significantly more gameplay, I feel, in the other ones, and that's your competition. So
right.
I think it's fair. It's fair criticism from my view. But like you said, the art style was cool, but there's just only so much you can get from a teaser. It's just not,
It's just wild to me that you buy all these studios, and then it seems like almost every studio you buy is doing something different than they've ever done before. And it's like, why? I'm not saying people can't branch out or do that, but like...
Worked out for Hi-Fi Rush.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
But how did it work out for Redfall? It's
sure.
like,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You're absolutely right, and that's actually a great point. So I might have to kind of roll that back a little bit, but it's just like everyone's doing something different, and it's like you bought all these. I would assume for the type of games that they put out, and it doesn't seem like that at all.
Right? Yeah, you would think like maybe at first we do what we know, prove that this was a good purchase,
right?
Yeah,
I'd be like, hey, okay, cool. Like you wanted that next. Obsidian or whatever. Like, yeah, here, put this out. Cool. Like,
even
this
Bethesda's like, okay, here's a new.
Yeah, right.
We had two properties, and now here's a brand new one.
Remember that awesome Deathloop game? Here's the opposite of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. I think based on like what Phil is saying and stuff, they wanted them to feel free, to have the freedom to do what they want and stuff. So it might just be a situation where it's like, hey, even though we acquired you guys, it's all you. You know what I mean? Do what you want. Don't feel pressured to put out a certain type of game. So, that's a good thing, I feel like, right? They have that kind of freedom.
Yeah, whenever you're not, unless we just haven't seen it, but it's like, yes, if you're not doing that with every studio and every studio is a gamble. It makes sense if you're like, oh, Hi-Fi Rush, which I don't even think they own that studio. So that might be something else. Yeah, I don't think. But like,
I just assume they own
it's something
everything.
different when, hey, we're going to have Bethesda do its own, like Arcane's going to just try something new. But that means the rest of y'all need to like buckle in case this falls through. Knock these out.
But then it's like
things are in development.
Why do they get to do what they want and then you just I don't know.
A hierarchy. It's a pecking order. It's a whatever you want to do. It's just it's weird that every single one, because like aren't the people that are making Forza doing something different or vice versa? Like they were making some weird offshoot game. The people that were doing Horizon, like Forza Horizon, like that team
I'm not sure.
is working on something else.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I'm not sure though, but
maybe it's just too. I don't know. Maybe everything's fine, and I'm just.
All right, moving on. That was a long conversation about that teaser.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I think it's all good.
That's a common theme.
Thoughts.
That's the thing. It's a common theme of what we're seeing from their studios.
Yes. No. So. I 100% agree. Next up is Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws.
Yes.
And I think we can kind of connect this to so Ubisoft has had its own showcase.
Yes.
So kind of combining two right now, but I think it's probably a good chance to do that. So this was a teaser in the Xbox showcase. Ubisoft had their own showcase where they showed 10 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about both here. I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
I'm a little mixed.
Mm-hmm.
the teaser was whatever. Like, it looked cool. It was cinematic Star Wars, which is always awesome.
Yeah.
It looks crisp, you know,
Yeah.
but teaser. Gameplay actually looked pretty cool. Started off with like a stealth section, which I was like, oh, this is right up. Like, I think you were talking about, like, when you were watching the teaser, you were like, just give me a stealth game, man. When's the last time we've seen just like a stealth game?
Yep.
So it started off, I was like, uh-oh, Tyler might really like this. You have your little ferret thing, alien ferret, going around, pushing buttons and stuff, cracking people's necks. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought I liked that mechanic. But then it gets into this firefight, and the shooting's like fine. I think that looks cool. I did like that it seemed like you had like 3 hits and you're dead, which to me, and I'm reading a lot into it, seeing very little, kind of indicates maybe that it is focused on stealth. Like, you're going to get punished if you just get into these big firefights.
As you should. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of walking through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you escape, you get on your speeder. It looks fantastic. It looks smooth. It looks awesome. Very cinematic-esque. Is that
Absolutely
a good phraseology for that? You get into town, go to this bar that instantly reminds me of like episode 2, which is awesome. I love that feel. Make some sort of back deal. Like, I'm loving all of this. This is like, oh man, this is super sweet.
Yeah.
There's an Imperial there where she wants you to pay her off. You don't do it. Now you're wanted. You run, get to your ship, and you leave. That's pretty much the whole trailer.
Space fight. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was the space fighting, which was interesting as well. I don't know how great that looked. That looked pretty
Generic.
generic. What I will say is I really liked the style of it was great. It was like old school Star Wars, kind of like prequel kind of feel.
Yep.
I know it's not set in the prequels, but it kind of had that feel. Like even the hub,
It's
HUD.
set, I believe, between 5 and 6.
If
I recall
okay.
correctly.
Interesting. I knew it was after the prequels, but it just had that kind of vibe, I
Yeah.
guess. Even like the HUD, like the texts and stuff kind of just felt really Star Wars. But I'm mixed on it because I'm reading too much into it.
Okay.
But I feel like they give you the illusion of choice, but it might not be,
I see. Yeah.
because they played it off as like, oh, you could have snuck through this, but not. And I'm like, could you have though? Do you get caught at that moment every single time? Because it seemed like a
very good set piece there.
It seemed like a cut scene there. And then the other one was like, you could choose to pay her off or not. And you chose not to, and then she called the Empire on you.
Yeah.
And I have a sneaking suspicion that either way, that's going to happen, because you get out of there and your sidekick's like, told you not to trust her. And it's like, well, I didn't trust her. I didn't pay her off.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, would he say that either way? Reading way too much into it.
It could be one of those things too that there is a choice. So like for the paying off thing, it could be something as simple as you pay her off. Now you don't have a space battle whenever you leave. Right?
No, exactly.
Something like that. Like, it could be, and I think that's enough, right? Like, I don't think you need these
100%.
like world-shattering choices.
No.
I think so. Kind of going back to a couple of those points.
Okay.
I think the stealth looked interesting. I think that's going to be very dependent on how believable is it. Like, the problem is Jedi Survivor just came out, completely different game, but that's the closest Star Wars game that we've had that's similar, right?
Yeah, we
Third
had
person action game.
what was the one where you're that girl who you start as the Empire and then you switch over?
That was Battlefront.
Oh, that was Battlefront.
Yeah, that's just a campaign for Battlefront.
Okay.
So
That's kind of similar? Maybe not. Okay.
You could say that, but I don't.
That's not where the
consider
focus
it.
is.
Right? Yeah,
The focus is on the multiplayer. Okay.
Yeah, but even the campaign, it's like capture this point. You're playing Battlefront.
Okay.
Like, it is what it is.
Yep.
But when you're looking at the graphics, already I'm looking at that and I'm like, I'm calling bullshit right now.
Oh, okay.
I think it looked phenomenal. I thought it looked like, and I think Survivor looks good. This looks leaps and bounds better than Survivor. Like, shockingly better than Survivor. I don't think that they make, like, this looks like a classic. We had to make a demo. Here's a vertical slice. It looks way better than it's ever going to run. Whenever you jump on a speeder and start taking off and flying to the next town seamlessly.
Yeah. I was looking for pop-in.
Bullshit.
I was looking for
like
anything.
Stuttering, everything. Because I'm like, dude, I can't run 5 feet in Survivor without it like stuttering or shader compilation or whatever it is. Completely different studios. I get that, whatever. But it's just like, I think I still, and I hate saying PTSD because it's obviously way too dramatic, but I still have that in the back of my mind of like, I stopped playing that game because it felt bad to play, right? And I'm not talking the Dark Souls aspect of it, but just like, it was stuttery and it was just like hitchy and it just felt like it was fighting me the whole time. If this feels smooth, if it feels like even if it's like loose, right? Like, and I consider something like an Uncharted loose, where it's more about the animations and the flow than it is like tight combat or tight whatever. I'm fine with that. It's just like, man, you got to sell me on that because I don't believe for a second that is the performance that you get. Aside from that, I like your little companion. I like your robot kind of straight man, Chewy co-pilot-esque thing.
Droid.
Yeah.
Droids aren't
fair
robots.
enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Sorry.
Fair enough. Every time we say droid, we have to give LucasArts a
dink
stipend. So I like that. I think it's a good small group of, because like how many of these can you have, right? Because again, I understand I keep going back to Survivor, but like Survivor, you have it. You have your ship, you have your little crew that you meet around or whatever, and like you move on from planet to planet to planet.
Same formula you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, and I understand it's very different games, but it's like you gotta do something different because right now, third-person Star Wars action game where you're a ragtag group, I understand that's a Star Wars formula, but like we just got one of those. What are you doing differently? To your point, stealth, different. Awesome. I would love to have some sort of system where it's like there isn't this and who knows, because obviously we're speculating, but I don't want like an overarching you're saving the galaxy plot or anything like that. I want something grounded and small and just like, hey, you're just doing jobs. And like every little job is almost like an episode of a TV show or something. Like you don't need this like, I'm going to go fight Darth Vader. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like it's just like
little Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, well, I'm worried that they're going to make it too big for her. I'm worried it's
going
to
stop the Empire.
Yeah, like you need to be Han Solo, and that's like you're watering down the overarching thing of these things. Like the reason why Mandalorian was so good for so long, and now it's getting kind of whatever, is because it was grounded. It was just like mission to mission to mission. These episodic little things of like, I'm going to help this town, and let's see what happens here or whatever. Like. That's what I want. I want it like tone it back a little bit. It doesn't need to be this grandiose thing. Anyway, I thought it was rad looking. If I take it all at face value, I'm 1,000% more excited to play that than, like Jedi Survivor and things like that.
Yeah.
I just who makes this again? I'm sorry.
It's Ubisoft.
Is it actually just like the Ubisoft, like Montreal or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't think it says it right here. Sorry.
So then they could have the. I would be interested in the engine. Like this is just me being a tech snob, but like,
yeah,
I want to know the engine. I want to know what the specs of the system requirements are. I want to know all that stuff because that trailer was so good, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand.
I agree 100%. This is a personal problem, but I just so out on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which hurts it as well.
Yep.
I have not consumed any Star Wars property in quite some time, but this does intrigue me more than anything else.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, I agree. It looked spectacular.
And when does that come out? Assuming next year, but
2024. No
okay.
specific date.
Yeah.
So okay.
But again, put a pin in it. But like, you have this.
Yeah.
Starfield comes out in September.
100%. It was kind of interesting at the end of the trailer. The sidekick was like, "Where do we go now?" And she's like, "We can go anywhere." And I'm like,
"Can you? Do you have 1,000 planets?"
Yeah, exactly. It was like a very much like, do you have to say that? Because
name 1,000 Star Wars planets.
All right.
Like I'm a fan and I can't get past maybe 20. Like
that's pretty good though. Name 1,000 Star Wars. Name 1,000 of anything, dude. I mean, come on. Okay. Next up on the list here, Forza Motorsport coming out this October.
Yep.
I know this doesn't mean much to you, but for me, I got the wheel, I got the pedals.
Yeah.
I'm very hyped for this.
But it's on Game Pass. I'll play you.
Absolutely. And you'll win. I feel like it's much easier on controller than the steering wheel. The Motorsport series, I think, is definitely the real deal. Horizon's great. I have a lot of fun with Horizon, but Motorsport's like where I got my start on Forza Motorsport 2 that came with my Xbox 360.
Yeah. Yep.
It was the bundle with Ultimate Alliance. And it was just great. That's where it's really at, man. It has all the customization. It really goes in depth. It's like a car person's game, man. Like that's where the real...
It's the Gran Turismo. It's like if you're
Gran
putting
Turismo,
them up against each other. This is Xbox's like answer to Gran Turismo.
And I don't think they showed anything crazy on this one. Like I was actually more excited last year when they were showing a lot of the technical stuff that they're doing for this, like ray tracing, all the lighting and fidelity stuff, which got me really hyped because I think it's going to look really good on PC.
Yeah. I mean, this is a pillar, right? So this is a pillar of what Xbox is coming out with, because it's Starfield and I know it keeps saying Starfield, but like it's Starfield and it's this. So like these are their two big. They have to hit. If they don't, that's a huge problem.
I'd say Forza's been one of their safer properties. I mean, they've just been getting amazing every Forza that's coming out, and they're very similar. Like Forza Horizon 4 and 5 are very similar games, but it's like their comfort pick here. Like you have your target audience, you know it's going to sell well.
Yep.
I mean, it's on Game Pass, but it's just been getting great reviews. So hopefully this is no different, and it'll do well. I'm excited for it, though. Next up is Clockwork Revolution, which was towards the end here.
That was one that looked like BioShock.
Looked like BioShock. Did not look as good as BioShock.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I mean, I know that we were being like totally graphic snobs.
Yeah.
On the thing, but I don't know. That's like important to us.
We weren't alone. I went on Twitter because I was curious. Because I'm like, okay, like it's been a while since I played Infinite, right? Like BioShock Infinite.
That's a game that came out a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep that in mind.
Exactly. So you go back to it and you're looking at it, and they've never remastered Infinite. They did 1 and 2, but Infinite's been solid,
untouched.
But you're looking at trailers, you're looking at kind of how they showed Infinite off. And if you go on Twitter and you start looking at screenshot comparisons, there are plenty that are stretches where it's like, oh, look at this. It's a building with a sky behind. I'm like, dude, I mean, yeah, like a certain type of architecture is going to look the same. Like, that's fine. But then you start looking at the posters and you're looking at the propaganda and you're looking at how they frame the shot of whatever they're trying to show. And you have the monorail and you have all this stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's starting to look a little similar. And now you have this African American woman who's talking to you with a scarf on. And then it's like side by side with Infinite. And I don't even remember who that is in Infinite, but it's just like, it looks pretty similar.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, I think they put a statement out of like, oh, you know, it was, any similarities were not intended or whatever. Like, yeah, no, like no one wants to plagiarize and intend it, you know?
When you have to put out a statement, that means...
I don't know if they put out a statement or if it was like an interview that somebody just said like, oh, well, you know, it's a era of like, it's cyberpunky, or not cyberpunk, but like steampunk.
Yep.
So look, it looked cool. I think you have some cool ideas in terms of like any time manipulation, like ever since like Titanfall did it really, really well. I'm into that. Like I'll try it. And there was another one that Zach and I played, and it was this like Russian time travel game that was like it actually looked a lot like BioShock, but it was definitely like a sleeper. I think it started with like a P or something. Anyway,
Pterodactyl?
That was really, yeah, exactly. Pterodactyl.
Yeah. Nice.
It was really good. I want to say prototype. It obviously wasn't prototype. But anyway, like we played it and it was fun. If this is like that, like kind of a sleeper hit-esque thing, like cool.
Yeah.
But again, we were talking about standing out. We were talking about like that would have been great 15 years ago, whenever Infinite came out or whatever, and it was just like, hey, we're like, it's just late, man.
It's tough. Yeah, it is tough. I completely agree. Cool concept. it didn't really. I remember this one. That's a plus. Hey, I remember this one, right?
Yeah.
It's the BioShock one, but
It's the one that doesn't look as good as BioShock. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it didn't quite grab me, but give it a shot, right? I thought the concept was interesting enough. So, next one is Metaphor Re Fantasio.
Yes. So this is the Persona thing.
Yeah, creators of Persona. I thought it was Persona.
Looks like Persona.
It looks exact. Menus look the same. Yep. Character models look very similar style. It's not. And
I'm pretty sure I said in the trailer, like, somebody had an idea for Persona 6 and it wasn't good enough. They're like, let's make it this game instead.
I think it's going to be very interesting because I'd be shocked if it was even close to as good as Persona. It's like, at that point, just give us Persona 6. But Persona is like, those guys are known for just going crazy. Mm-hmm. So this might be a chance where they can just go as crazy as they want. Although
without
I don't
tarnishing anything. Or
I don't even think you can for a Persona. I know you've never like played one to completion, but they just go insanely crazy in those. So that doesn't even make sense.
My dumb thing is like, I really want to play 5 again, but I want to do it on my Steam Deck, and I bought it on, or no, I have it on Game Pass.
Right.
So it's like, I can play it for quote unquote free on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Or I can spend the $60 and get it on my Steam Deck. So I do have that on my wish list for the Steam sale, which is coming out on the 29th. If it's under $20, I might pick it up. But we'll see.
Yeah. So not really super excited for that one, but
it looked wild.
Should be interesting.
Sure.
I don't know. I
mean,
think they're always
like Persona 3. They're doing a remaster of it too.
Yeah. So a remake. I think.
I'm sorry. It is a remake, and they specifically said that it's not the definitive edition, whatever that means. So if they do the
Persona
remake,
always
they can add
does
more stuff to it.
Yeah, Persona always does that, where it's like
this isn't Persona 4 Gold. This is like a different.
Yes, because
3.
Persona 3 was, I believe,
PS2, right?
Was it PS2? I wanted to say it was like handheld. It was not like on handheld.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Because the remaster that they released on Game Pass was kind of weird because they had to like convert that. So there's some
for
weird
3?
mechanics.
Oh, maybe it's like a Vita joint or like a PSP or something.
No, maybe. I'd have to research that. I'm not super up to date on that.
Luckily, we have a whole department for that.
Absolutely. I'm excited for that. I mean, I really, I like that series. So, all right, let me move to this. Apologize. I have a lot of thoughts on all of this stuff. So,
no, keep going, man. I think it's good.
Next one was the 33 Immortals. So this was the kind of raid-focused action game is how they describe it. It looked kind of like Hades style a little bit.
I think that's doing a disservice to Hades, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's not Hades, but
it's like a lo-fi.
I don't know how to
It's a lo-fi top-down.
Yeah.
Almost like twin stick action.
Fascinating that it's 33 player. I mean, that's like talk about, a draw or like getting your attention. For me, that was like, oh yeah, that's
Phil Spencer played
crazy.
that on stage apparently with the developers.
Oh really?
Yeah, I didn't get to see it.
Me neither.
But that was one of the ones that, and like I know this is out of order, but that was towards the beginning of the conference.
Yes,
and that was really the only thing in that time frame, like towards the beginning of where we like all kind of like we're like that's like okay, like that piqued our interest.
Yeah.
Again, not necessarily like visually, but just the mechanic wise and everything. It was
how does that even work? That's insane. So that's interesting. Payday 3.
Sorry, real quick. One thing to note too with that 33, that's on Game Pass. So it automatically you're like, they have a big enough player base? You would assume that's streamer fodder. Like that's perfect for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree.
Like especially with 33 players. Yep. Now imagine all these different streamers just playing themselves. Like they go off and you're just like, all right, let's see what they come up with. That's
right.
Really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Next up was Payday 3.
Yeah.
It didn't look good.
Looked like Payday 2.
It looked like Payday 2, and I like Payday, personally. I love the idea of it.
Love the idea.
It has a little bit. Here's what I was saying during the stream, too. Payday 1 to Payday 2 was a huge jump, right? Like, Payday 1 was like, Well, it was more than one mission, but the only good mission was the first one anyways, where it was the bank, and then you kind of depart from that.
I mean, 2 does a good job because they just kept coming out with stuff.
Yeah, and the mechanics of 1 were just like totally different. Like Payday 2, they expanded. You now have like abilities and stuff. You have different classes, which is cool. Yeah. There's more stealth elements because that was like a big problem with 1, where it's like you have to go loud at a certain point.
Yep.
And 2 does a little bit better at that. And theoretically, you can get in and out without doing anything. This is going to be very nitpicky, but I wish... So you have to put on your mask in order to do anything. I wish there was a little bit more... You have a civilian, quote unquote, kind of doing things. On the, you know what I'm saying? A guard on the inside, or just a dude walking in. Where
Save up enough money, you can like bribe people. Maybe,
something like you know, you don't have to put on your mask, because as soon as you put on your mask, if they see you, your cover's blown.
Right.
Because you pull out your gun too. So I wish you could do more things without activating that. I don't know. Just a thought. We'll see how it is. I mean, they showed gameplay. Unfortunately, it was just a lot of running and gunning, which is not what I like about that series. I want to be stealth. I want
no
them to never know.
Right? Like a PvP. There's no. It's all.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Situation based.
That would be interesting too. How you do that?
Like at the very end, you go in and you just see another team in masks. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
I think that the way I view Payday 2 is like Left 4 Dead 2, right? Where it's like, it's fine. It doesn't feel modern, right? Like the controls don't feel modern. The way you do things don't feel modern. It feels a little floaty. It does all that stuff. So if we can get a Payday 3 that feels almost like a Back 4 Blood, not that Back 4 Blood is like a great game, but I think it felt good. I thought it was like, it
Passable,
ran well. Yeah, it was modern, a modernized version of Left 4 Dead.
Yes.
So it's like, cool.
Let us aim down sights.
Yeah, like make it feel better.
Yeah.
And then I'm in. We'll play it. We'll try it out. And stuff. Was that one that was on Game Pass? Because that's huge. Like that's a big deal. If that's a Game Pass,
everything's on Game Pass that I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that's alone
awesome
is super cool.
We'll try it. Yeah. You want the couch company to try things, put it on Game Pass. We're gonna play it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Persona 3 we talked about. I'm excited for that.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Persona 5 Tactica. They're going to milk this absolutely dry.
Yep.
But tactics games are fun, so... And it's on Game Pass, so I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
So that's something. But the amount of stuff they put out for Persona 5 is laughable.
Yeah, I mean, they struck gold, right? Like
absolutely. Yeah. It sells every time. You have your core that anything with Persona 5 on it, they're going to get.
The characters were good, memorable. I know I'm saying this is like a definite, like I meet half the characters.
Yeah.
No, I do. Like that's the thing is like I actually do, and it's one of those things like I can recognize the Persona game from a mile away, right?
Yeah.
Like it's they have that much style and that much like vision for it, where it's like good, milk it dry. Like as long as people are paying the money, as long as because everything like what was it, Strikers that came out and like it was decent. Like people were fine
it wasn't
with it.
bad. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Like, by all means, go for it.
I actually
Final
hope
Fantasy did it.
They have these like Persona Q games or something that they haven't released in a while, and they're usually like handheld games. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of hoping they would do that because those games were cool because they combined all the Personas and you had characters cross games like meeting each other and stuff, which is
like Fire Emblem did it, Final Fantasy did it. Yeah.
So that's always cool when you did that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyways, Sea of Thieves gets a Monkey Island crossover.
It's wild to see that.
Yeah. But it makes so much sense, right?
Yeah. I'll be interested in who that's for, I think, because I don't think Monkey Island is like a widely celebrated, like my nephew probably has no clue what Monkey Island is, right?
Sure.
Nor do I think that he necessarily would ever want to play, because that's a point and click adventure. Great voice acting, great story, humorous. Like it's really, really cool. Great characters. Makes sense in that regard. I just don't see it on the same level as like, holy crap, Jack Sparrow's in the Sea of Thieves, right? I would love to see Jack Sparrow and what's his name? Brush. Skybrush? I don't know.
I never played him, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking for it.
Which is cool that they got the voice actors in there and everything. Like you see the different locations and the bad guy and stuff like that. That's all neat. So I don't know. Like, obviously, I want to play it. I don't think, because I know Kyle's in the group, like, is this something that, like, Mike comes back for? No, there's no way. He probably couldn't care less about it. Maybe I can get my nephew to play it. Maybe I can get, like, Harbin to play it or something like that. Like, maybe you would want to, check it out. But it's a property that I think is lost on a lot of people. And that's just interesting that they went down that road. I don't know what other road you'd go down.
Yeah, it's tough after.
But it's just, it's weird.
It's tough after Pirates of the Caribbean to follow that up. So anything, I think it makes a lot of sense. But you bring up a good point. Like, what's the audience? But we'll see. I think it'll be good, though. I think it's it's going to be a good crossover. It makes a lot of sense, like, logistically within the game itself.
It's really weird to see him
3D.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't look
and
like
that's
him.
the art style, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The other characters looked a lot better than the main character, which is weird.
Yes. Well, it's based in that world. So it's like, even Jack Sparrow didn't necessarily look like Jack Sparrow, but he has enough of those, like, specific indicator, like his dreads and his outfit and the way he walks and his goatee and everything. Like, there's enough there that you're like, oh, that's Jack Sparrow. Okay. But, like, this guy is so generic, which is kind of part of his charm and everything. Like, he just looked really generic in the game. So I don't know.
Next up, Flight Simulator. Your favorite game of all time?
Second favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
They showed off a bunch of rescue stuff. Flight Simulator always looks amazing. And it always makes
you
me
play it and you're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever made.
I wouldn't say that, but it always makes me want to, like, run it just to see how it looks.
Yeah.
And then they had, like, I like what they're doing. Like, they're kind of doing other properties.
Uh-huh.
So they had the Pelican last year, I think. And then this year they had, like, a Dune.
Yeah, Pelican from Halo, Dune from Dune.
Dune bug.
Hornet thing.
It wasn't a hornet. What is that? It's a
mosquito.
That's not a mosquito.
Mosquito hornet.
It's a, oh my God.
Dragonfly.
Dragonfly.
Yeah.
Not firefly. Dragonfly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firefly would be sick.
Next. Hellblade 2 coming out next year.
I thought the trailer last year was way more exciting than this one. This one was boring.
This one was, it didn't do it for me. I know people actually really like this game, and we played the first one apparently, which I totally forgot about. So
nope, that was Remnant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Tyler.
I don't think you played Hellblade.
I didn't play Hellblade. That's exactly it, dude. It's like it's not getting me. Oh well, I think people are excited for this. Is that fair to say?
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we had Like a Dragon Infinite. Speaking of milking series dry, dude, people love this series.
Yeah.
The Yakuza games.
They're all on Xbox.
They're just crazy, wacky, silly. I want to get into them because I see how much people love them, and then I just never do.
The trailer was funny. It was like he wakes up naked on a beach, and then maybe like an Austin Powers thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe I just don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. Maybe I'm not cool enough. Probably the biggest reveal of the night, though, Fallout 76. Atlantic City.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but this might be better than Starfield.
Okay, well, it's been a good run. 99 episodes is nothing to sneeze at, but my friend.
Capcom reveals Path of the Goddess. That was like a weird. That was like the Eastern inspired, like fantastical, like ninja, and then the girl with the stuff.
I'm just looking at you to blink.
Dude, you didn't. Way. Yeah, it was like samurai kind of.
Sure.
And monsters coming out of things.
Yep. Sounds right.
It looked weird. It looked crazy. Yeah. It looked Capcom.
Yep.
They do things sometimes.
They sometimes do.
I think that's. I don't know. I think that's.
It's safe to say it didn't resonate with me.
More interesting.
That's not to say that it's not a bad game.
Than Hellblade 2, in my opinion.
The trailer probably. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we saw any gameplay, so it's like.
Again, what are you doing? Like just gameplay. Just gameplay.
I guess. Let's see what else.
It's like I'm trying to think of the best analogy for this.
Yeah.
But it's like you're. I don't know. Like, well, I can't think of it. Forget it. I gave up. I was trying to like put it to like cars for some reason, but it's like
Pixar cars.
No, like a car,
like Lightning McQueen. Or
well, you're talking about like, oh, look at this like Camaro, like how cool it is and everything.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like sweet. Let me drive it.
Oh, I see.
And it's just like no. Like it's like when you actually get your hands on, when you're actually doing the gameplay, when you're actually putting on the road, it's like, oh, it's super loud, it's super bumpy. It's not actually a fun like smooth ride. Yeah. It's like all this other crap.
I'll give you a great car example. I was showing you the new Challenger, the electric one.
Yeah.
And it was like a concept car, and they just went like 2 miles an hour around the stage and showed you the noise, and it's like, oh, this is all subject to change.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, great. Like
let me know when it's
available
run well? To test drive. Yeah.
How fast is it?
We got there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally agree. Next up, something that did pique our interest was Towerborn.
Yeah.
Looks kind of cool. I liked the art style. The research department said like Castle Crashers, and looking at it again, I was like, I could see that kind of, not the same art style or anything, but the same kind of combat-esque side scroller.
Who's the developer? Because I forget what
Banner Saga.
Banner Saga, yeah. So the Banner Saga, like they're doing like the tactical game type of thing. So like that's like a board, and you can like kind of like pick where you move and attack different stuff. It's almost like a chess isn't the right word for it, but it's way more turn-based, and so it'll be interesting to see how action-oriented it is versus turn-based. Like for me, I wasn't getting that like Castle Crasher vibe. I was actually getting closer to like a Darkest Dungeon esque thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not as like punishing, and maybe not as like straightforward as like a turn-based, but it was almost like an auto battler type. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's weird, yeah.
They describe it as a brighter, more colorful world. And I thought they had some sort of description in here. Co-op adventure.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Well,
ever-changing world.
Cool.
I mean, I thought they had a better descriptor in there. I apologize.
I'm into it if it's something like, if it's like, oh, this is actually really fun and I want to play more of it. I love what is your end game? What is the repeat? If I really like this game and I really like the gameplay, I really like the world, how long can you keep me in here? Mm-hmm. That was the biggest thing with like Dredge, where it's like, I really like this. And it's like, yeah, well, you're finished with it
done.
Now, so sorry.
And there ends your experience.
It's the same thing with what was last year's
Tunic?
Tunic was one, but I knew Tunic had like an end. It was the plant game.
Plants vs. Zombies?
No, it was Horticulture.
Donut one?
Strange Horticulture was the name of the game.
Okay.
That was...
I don't even remember talking about that last year.
That's because I didn't think you would give a crap, but it was in my top games of
Oh,
last
really?
year,
You should have talked about it, man.
Yeah, it was... I really
Better than Neon White?
No, but it was in there. White. It was in the conversation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, Still Wakes the Deep. Sorry. Wanted to make sure that was the title, because some of these titles are not actually the title.
That's the one that we laughed. It was like, hey, it's Redfall 2. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you go into a lighthouse.
Yeah, you're on an oil rig.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a horror game.
Yep.
No gameplay.
Yep.
There you go. There's the theme, right?
Actually, there was a little gameplay, I think.
Well, yeah, I guess. You were like shutting a door.
Yeah.
And then there was a screen.
And you were pressing a button or something. It almost looked like it was like a little bit more of an interactive, like an Amnesia type of thing. Like I wonder if it's like, can you actually fight the monsters, or you just have to like hide from them?
Games.
Yeah.
It's not that they're bad games. It's just like, that's the worst feeling, where I cannot fight back.
You can't do anything. Yeah, you're just at the mercy of it.
That scares me 100%. Okay, next up, Dungeons of Hinterberg, and this is with the chick. I'd have to show you. They don't give me a picture, unfortunately. And she has like a bow and arrow, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a great job.
No, it's like, look, if we don't remember them,
does this
then
give
they
you,
sit
does
out
this give you anything
to ourselves, you know?
She like starts out in her room, and then
and then she actually goes on like a little adventure. This is the one that I said I would play, right? Like the cartoony one.
Yeah, this looks like a Tyler.
Yeah.
Game.
Yeah. I mean, like, is it something that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna love this? Like,
right.
You know, who knows? But
yeah, you might get your 10 hours.
Yeah, that's all I want, man.
Fun.
Like,
yeah. All right, to move this along, Elder Scrolls Online. Super excited for this. I love MMOs. City Skylines 2, super excited for this. I love
Good
cities.
for people that like that. Good for them.
Yeah, 100%, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's an audience for this. I don't want to poo-poo it, but...
Skylines saw SimCity just get hit with a meteor and was like, we will rise from the ashes. Good on them. Like, they are the definitive, like, if you want a city building, SimCity is a thing of the past. EA can cry about it all they want. Here you go. City Skylines. Enjoy.
Yep. I don't know if you remember this climbing game. I guess it's called Jusant.
Yeah.
Looked so boring to me, dude.
I'll play it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a Tyler bullshit game. Yeah, 100%. And that's all I had for the Xbox showcase.
Yep.
So a little long-winded, so I apologize, but I do want to... I like dedicating at least a little bit of time to every game because, you know, they do the work. They put in the work to, like, showcase the game in some form, and I want to respect that by at least addressing it.
Yeah.
Is my thought.
But that was like an hour of content, right?
You think our thing was long.
Yeah.
It was long. It was like twice as long.
And like they were coming out and talking about different stuff. Like it was,
yeah. Was this like the... No, never mind. Never mind. I was like going to say Nick Cage and stuff, but that was the Summer Games.
No, that's Summer Games.
They all blend together.
Yeah, Summer Games is the biggest offender. Like that was 3 times longer than it needed to be.
So much talking there. But yeah, there was more talking here. And then they talk about the Xbox.
Yeah.
And all that bullshit. So there's a couple other things I wanted to mention before we get into Starfield, because I think Starfield's the main discussion.
Sure.
So there's a couple other showcases. We talked about Ubisoft's The Star Wars Outlaws. They also showed Prince of Persia.
Yeah, so I've been looking at that.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it looks freaking rad.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
This is someone who played the game back in the day, and it's like such a departure.
The side scroller?
Well, no, the Sands of Time, which is
like
I guess that was the
3 or
departure.
4. Yeah, that was the departure.
That was the departure.
Yeah.
So I am totally biased.
I didn't realize that Prince of Persia came out in the 80s.
I told you, didn't I say
Yeah,
that? I
yeah,
said I think this has a
didn't-
long legacy.
I did not think it was that long.
Sometimes
Sometimes
I get
the young buck knows
a blind squirrel tells time right
this
twice
was
a day.
you. Like this was pre both of us. I want to say it said 83. So like
Pre me, yeah.
It's pre both of us.
Yes.
So
That's a long ass time.
that's a
ago.
long ass time.
That's like when did games even start, dude?
I was looking at it. It's like that's actually pretty cool.
That's one of the first.
yeah.
Wow. Well, maybe not 70s. 70s.
I guess the thing that I'm saying is I think the style is there. I love the character model of what's his face?
Prince.
What's his name? Prince. Yeah, Prince.
I don't know.
I think it looks really good. I think the style is there. You don't get a lot of it in the trailer. So what I did is I saw there was a commentary one. It's like a 3-minute trailer with commentary on it.
Okay.
And they're explaining what's happening as he's just running around doing stuff.
Gotcha.
And it's like you have all these special abilities. You do get the time travel with it, so you can like jump in an air. It's like almost like they were using it in like a combo form when they're fighting guys. So like you would set your like flashback point, shoot a guy, slide through him, and then as he's about to swing at you, you flash back to your thing and hit him again or whatever.
Yeah, Echo Ultimate.
Yeah. And yeah, I actually knew what you meant there. And it just looked really good. The platforming looks solid. The only, if I'm nitpicking, is some of the time whenever because everything's side scrolling, so it's 3D but in like a 2D space almost.
Yep.
Whenever the camera panned or changed a different perspective, it seemed to stutter to me. I don't know if that's just it's probably work in progress, whatever, but it was just like that would annoy me. But the gameplay seemed fluid as heck. It seemed like it wasn't overly animated, and they focused more on playing it, which I thought was really cool. So I went down kind of a path of that. I was like, okay, has anybody played the game and stuff like that? So like Giant Bomb said that was their favorite game by far of like the entire of them playing stuff. So I don't know how much they went in like the Summer Games Fest and different things like that, but 2 of them said that was their favorite game on the floor, which is enough for me to be like,
wow.
Okay, let's check it out. But
High
go
praise.
on. I'm sorry. So you want a third person like
I don't know what I want. I played that game when I was a kid, so like
Yeah.
don't listen to me. I'm probably totally off base here, but I guess my thought was the music that they picked for this I didn't think they got the tone right of the game.
Okay.
Again, I haven't played it in forever, so I could totally be wrong. Maybe they nailed it. Maybe Prince of Persia fans are like, heck yeah, they totally played all those old ones back in '82.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm just saying things. I don't. It didn't resonate with me, I guess. And you like side scrollers much more than me, so I mean that also probably contributes.
Yeah, I mean a perfect example is Guacamelee, right? Which if you're listening to this before Thursday, go on the Epic Game Store. Guacamelee 1 and 2 are both free. Both are phenomenal games, but those are the same thing where it's like this side-scrolling platform heavy like type of game with combat, and it feels really good. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like this is up my alley, so obviously I'm going to be a little bit more sweet on it than you necessarily. But I think visually, stylistically, it looks good, and it looks varied too. And I don't think that the trailer does as good a job as the extended trailer, where you're in different environments. I think the backgrounds look really, really nice without being overbearing or taking away from it. Like everything that you need to understand, like what to jump on, when to time it, things like that seems. I mean, again, from the 3 minutes I saw, seemed really good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm actually very excited to play it. That's coming out, I think, January, like early January.
I think you're right. January 18th, my birthday.
So mid-January. Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple other things they showed. We can just touch on these quickly. An Avatar game coming out the end of this year.
It actually, like the visually looked okay, but I couldn't care less.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Which kind of checks out with the movie itself, right?
Yeah, they were saying that Avatar 5's coming out in like 2035 or something.
Dude, they have it all planned. I've never seen anything like that planned that far in advance. And this wasn't even recently. It was years ago.
I think you can stream it now. I might need to see the second Avatar just visually, just to see the tech
I thought you did
it.
see it in theaters.
No, we were supposed to. Never did.
Interesting. But yeah, I totally agree with that take. And then they showed a lot of Assassin's Creed, I think. I didn't watch it, so I'm just getting a recap
but
here.
Only the one coming out, right? Like they didn't show anything else. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe this is a hot take here. I don't give a fuck about Assassin's Creed anymore, dude. I loved the games back in the day. I don't know. I just don't care. I mean, they try to do a lot of things with it. I know that you liked Odyssey.
Yeah.
Was that the one you really liked?
It's the best Assassin's Creed game.
Wrong.
No.
Just absolutely wrong.
Play it.
No.
Play it and tell me it's not the best one.
Objectively
the best
burn
one.
hours on it.
Done. Done.
No, don't do that.
Test me, bro.
Don't do that.
Say goodbye to Diablo.
Yeah,
You're
right.
playing Assassin's Creed.
Can't hit 50 anymore. I just don't care, man. I don't know. Like I'm disrespecting it, but they're like, oh, we're going back to the roots. Oh, we're doing this. We're classic assassins, and I'm like, dude,
you are
just
having
do something new, man. Please, like this has been totally milked dry.
You are doing a filler year and trying to dress it up as much as you can.
Yeah,
that's all you're doing. You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah,
you're just too greedy to take a year off.
It's like what COD got into after the Golden Age.
Sure.
Where it's like, oh, now we have to put a game out every year. And
how about Ghosts?
Advanced Warfare was terrible. I know you liked it, but it was terrible.
Look, I won't go to bat for anything besides, I think, Black Ops 2, aside from Modern Warfare 2 and technically Modern Warfare.
COD 4 to Black Ops 2, Golden Age.
Yes.
Of Call of Duty.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
And pre that,
I will
was
take
good,
all of them. I will take World at War. I love World at War. So, like, when you say
I'm
it's the Golden Age, every single one, yes.
Yeah. COD 4, World at War, MW 2, Black Ops, MW 3, Black Ops 2.
Yep.
7 bangers. MW 3, probably the worst one out of that lineup.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
Because I still think it's a very good game.
Did not care for Modern Warfare 3 at all. Like, whatsoever.
I played a lot of MW3.
I got a diamond-studded LMG in that game.
There you go.
Because I hated it so much. I basically was Gerard, and I just stood in the corner and just camped it. And
was it as good as MW2? No. But I admit I'm much higher than everyone else was on it, but I had a lot of fun with it. I thought the gunplay was still really good. I thought the kill streaks were really fun.
I think the maps were bad.
The maps were the biggest problem.
Yeah.
100%.
Everything else
too small.
was great. Yep.
Totally agree. Anyways. Don't give a shit about Assassin's Creed.
Also, it didn't help that like I think you got your Battlefields coming into their golden age around the time of Modern Warfare 3, where there wasn't enough to like. That's where we were playing ours.
Yeah, what is that? Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4?
I think 4. I think early 4.
I don't know if 4 is the best Battlefield. I feel like Bad Company 2 is probably the best Battlefield, and then 3 is better than 4, I think, in my opinion.
I would agree with all of those statements, but I thought 4 was fine.
4 was definitely fine, 100%. It was still going strong, let's say, right?
Bad Company 2 was my favorite. The nice thing with 4 is you got the higher frame rate.
Bad Company 2, all the way to Battlefield 1 was actually pretty, because that's Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, skip Hardline. That's fucking trash.
Stop, yeah.
Okay, so maybe not. So Hardline was bad. Battlefield 4, good, back on track. Battlefield 1 was a lot of fun, actually, too.
We played it. It's just they couldn't, and this is what kind of, and man, we're way off topic, but this is kind of what kind of ruined Battlefield is they couldn't tune it correctly.
Okay.
So Battlefield 1, they just kept changing the time to kill. So like every time you would jump online and play it, it like
different,
just felt different.
Yeah.
Which sucked. And then this latest one was just like they were way off base, and then they're like slowly bringing it back. But like I would love to know what the player base on that is.
Oh my God, it's
like,
gonna be abysmal.
We got the classes back just like you like them. You know,
I agree with in Battlefield 1, but I will say one of the most immersive Battlefields.
I thought it was visually incredible.
I just have fond memories of playing that. Like, room is totally blacked out.
Yeah.
You hear the whistle, you go over the wall, you just see your whole army charging, you're just getting mowed down. Super disturbing, probably, but it was just cool. Like, you felt like you were in it.
I put that one, like, I completely agree with you there. Like, it felt like a huge rush. Like, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. And then the only other one was when you're doing, and it's actually Battlefront, but when you're doing the dogfighting and you're going through the clouds, and all of a sudden you have like the TIE fighters flying at you and you're in with your X-Wing squads.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
100%. Okay, that was a departure. How are we doing on time? Are we?
We're at an hour 36 minutes.
Yikes! All right, I'll speed it up here. So that was Ubisoft. Don't care about Assassin's Creed. Sorry.
Big thing for Ubisoft and big thing for Microsoft. No Gears of War.
Yep.
No Splinter Cell.
There hasn't been Splinter Cell in forever.
I'm just saying that's the only two things I wanted, and I was disappointed on both.
Man.
So as far as I'm concerned, screw it.
Absolutely. Let me go over the PC gaming show really quick. Just two things I want to touch on. They talked about a million things. I didn't get a chance to watch it. So two things jumped out at me. So I apologize if I missed anything else that should have stood out. Path of Exile 2, another trailer. Very similar to the first trailer they put out. Short, sweet. Mm-hmm. Showed a little of the gameplay, just like a tease. Still looks good.
Any UI on there? I don't think they gave you...
Oh, that's a good... I don't think so.
Like it was more like just visual, like, look how nice this looks.
Yeah. It's not enough to say anything, but it intrigues me. We talked about this last time. It intrigues me enough that I might want to give it a try.
So after playing Diablo, right, and understanding like what these games are about, you would go to Path of Exile and try it out then?
Yeah, I know that we were going to talk about Diablo a little bit.
Yeah, that'll probably be
we don't have time now, but I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would.
That's good. Okay.
So at first I was like, "Oh, this is cool. You know, I'm gonna do this for Ty." Then I was like, "All right, campaign's fine," but now I'm really getting close to the point where it's like I went to bed last night thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we were up till 2:30.
Right.
I got to 48. Feels really good when you level up fast. It feels really good.
I mean, we'll get you to 50 easy.
Easy.
Yeah.
And it's starting to come together slowly, but yeah, when you start making those connections, it reminds me of League. I know I can't go a podcast without talking to League, but it's like intimidating at first. Yep. So all these terms and things are thrown at me, but you start making those small wins. They add up. You start making those connections. It feels really good.
We're getting to the end game. We're getting you to it. I know we weren't going to talk about Diablo, but real quick. So like, it's interesting because I know I ruined Diablo 3 for you because you wanted the campaign, you wanted the like. Let me just learn it. And I was like, don't worry about it. Yeah. This is the best part. Well, now you're starting to see why. No, I was completely in the wrong, so I'm not trying to justify it. But it's like that's so good, and that creep of like making your character so powerful and so like, just shredding through people and stuff. The interesting thing that I'm gonna look at is once we get you to 50, and once you are like, okay, we're tackling these dungeons together. Okay, we're putting in nightmare dungeons and raising the difficulty and trying to get like this next level loot and stuff. I want to see how long those legs are in this 4, because the thing is, everything that you liked about that is in 3, and it's really good in 3. Where it's like you have the riffs, you have all these kind of like randomized things, and like the gameplay loop is so good in 3 that I'm just waiting to get there in 4, and we haven't hit that yet. And I'm very, very excited that like in a couple levels you'll hit it, and then we just go into it. Like we just start seeing.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's still I still have a long way to go. Because they're still they were talking about paragons and it was very confusing and stuff. So you'll have to bear with me, but yeah. I was excited, and I'm really enjoying it. Okay, Capcom had their showcase too. I'll just quickly speed run this because I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
So if anything jumps up, so Dragon's Dogma 2. I know a lot of people are really excited for this, and apparently they did a deep dive of it, deep dive trailer. It says.
That's actually awesome. So I didn't know, like, that was a big announcement. And then the fact that they have that much to show,
looks like
good on them.
3 minutes. So not like a 10-minute one, but.
So a shallow dive.
Shallow, yeah. The IGN said deep dive. Okay, not my words.
All right.
But better than just a teaser, right?
Yeah, show me gameplay. I don't care if the gameplay looks, well, I shouldn't say that, but like.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Bad gameplay or like boring gameplay will always still gain more points for me than a really cool CGI trailer.
Oh, I might call you out on that because that's exactly what happened with Starfield.
Yeah.
You were very down on it though. You're like, I don't care about this.
And we will talk about that.
But that's all right. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? There's like an Ace Attorney trilogy coming.
Yeah.
People are really big on that game. I've never played any of those though. Sorry, just going really quickly through this. Mega Man something. Okay, that's all.
Mega Man, blah, 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 blah.
I'm just
sure
not as well versed in that world, so I apologize. Trying to think if there's anything else. Now we get to what we wanted to talk about.
This is it. This is how we close out the 99th episode of the Couch Company podcast.
Very similar to how the Xbox showcase was structured, where you get through all the stuff, and then here's what we're all here for. Starfield.
Yes.
Now, if you heard our takes before, you probably know that we were very down on this game.
Yes.
In the fact that they're talking about all these crazy, seemingly unrealistic asks. Not asks, but like things.
Yeah.
Statements.
Yep.
Proclamations. Like 1,000 planets and all this stuff. I mean, that's the one that jumps out at me, right?
Yeah, that's a big one. More dialogue than Fallout and Skyrim combined.
Yeah, that's what they said in this one. Yeah. But yeah, like the scale of it is like, how is this going to be possible? And then the big thing, at least for me, I think you shared my sentiment on this. The fighting, the gunplay, the fighting itself looked really poor last year.
Yes.
And that was a big turn off. You're not a huge Bethesda fan in terms of the games themselves, like a Fallout or...
I'm Elder Scrolls fan. I would say I'm a fan of Elder Scrolls.
Right. But the fact that this is a shooter...
Oh, yeah. I think Fallout was... Yeah.
So that scared you off. I was very hesitant there. So a lot of questions we had. This year, 2023, Xbox Games Showcase, they do... I think it was 40 minutes, actually. It was like long.
Yeah, it was a 45-minute
And they
conference.
go really deep into... here's what it's looking like. They talk about a lot of the technical aspects of it on how they do lighting and stuff, how it looks. So that's how it opens. So it's like, okay, more of the same. But I think what really grabbed me at first was the combat that they showed. It was like a huge difference. Looked fluid. It looked fine. And no bullet sponges. They were flinching when they got hit.
That's the biggest thing. Is like the two things are hit markers and a reactionary enemy. I don't care if it's like bullet sponge in the way that I have to put 12 bullets into your chest before you go down. That's even fine as long as every time I'm shooting you, you're reacting to it, right? So I can wrap my head around like, oh, you have body armor on, you have whatever on, like, blah, 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 that's fine. But if you just, which I Did you go back and look at the original trailer from last year?
I didn't get a chance to.
We still need to do that. But if it's like I think I remember is they were shooting, and the guys were like, oh, I'm eating bullets, and then they just fall down.
Yeah.
This, it's like, oh, I'm shooting in your leg, I'm shooting in your chest, I'm hitting you in your head, and they're dropping quick.
Yes.
So yeah, I like the combat was the main standout that looked good.
One of the biggest highlights for me, the combat. And I think, did you watch the interview with
I did,
Todd?
Yeah.
I think he talked a little bit about that. I forget what studio they kind of got assistance from on that, but...
No, so that was a rumor. So they did all the combat themselves. They retooled the combat themselves.
Right.
id, who does Doom, like id Software, they helped them with the motion blur and the graphics.
That's right, he did say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They helped the combat in Fallout 4.
I mean, not that they did it, but I would venture to guess that they. Hey, what do you think about this? Give me some pointers.
It would be hard for me to believe that they didn't walk across the street and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. What if he doubled over when you shot him in the gut?"
Right.
Oh, let me program that in.
Here's how we do it, just in case you. I don't know, curious.
Here's what made Doom one of the greatest shooters of all time.
Yeah. 100% right. Yeah. And that, this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but that is an aspect of the Xbox acquisitions that make me really excited, where it's like, now you're going to get, you're all on the same team, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to start talking to each other and getting those references. Because in the interview, he also talks about, I'm really excited about what some of our partners are doing.
Yep.
Not that he could talk.
Well, he was talking about id specifically.
id specifically. So it's that's awesome. I just love to see that collaboration and
for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the game. So it actually opened up with the visual stuff, and then really very much No Man's Sky vibes, where you were resource hunting and tracking animals and stuff and notating them,
scanning the fauna and the flora, and you could do that. Okay, and I was looking, it's there's only 0 out of 7 and stuff. So it's okay, so there's only 7 things on this planet or in this area or what? Right. How do you know when you can move on?
Yeah. Well, in the trailer, they talked about kind of a hex grid kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So it might be large scale areas on a larger hex grid map, and then you move from area to area. That would be cool. Yep. So you can 100% those, which I know right up your alley. But yeah, they touched on so many things, and forgive me, it's been a little bit since I probably should have watched it a little bit more recently to walk through it, but they talked about a lot of different aspects. So they went over that, the No Man's Sky stuff. They went a lot into the ship aspect of it, the creation of it, so you can totally customize your ship. You can get these crazy ship builds. Every piece of it is customizable, and then is actually livable as well. It's the best way to describe it.
So depending on the pieces that you put on, if you put on this cabin, you can actually walk around the cabin and stuff.
Yeah, and you'll have space for people, and I think that's really cool and intuitive
for sure. You can go and it really is just play how you want. So if you go into outer space and it's very similar how you can just kill everyone in Whiterun in Skyrim, right? Right. So it's I came upon this ship. I like this. This is mine now, and you can just be a pirate and shoot them, just stable their engines, board them, and either maybe kill them or whatever, and then you literally take their ship, and that's part of your fleet now. And if you want to disassemble it, and you're I murdered your entire family because I really liked your cockpit, and then you take the cockpit off and put it on your ship.
Yeah.
The kind of possibilities that they were putting out there were kind of nuts. It was pretty cool. It's just a matter of you touched on a little bit on the graphic side. I think this is the first game that I'm this is a nice looking game. I think Fallout looks bad. I think Skyrim looks bad. I don't care how many versions of it you put out. I think modding aside, I think largely their choices in a lot of that stuff is just ugly. And I think a lot of that is just because the hardware that they have, how big their games are. I understand that. You're just taking a graphical hit. But in this game, for whatever reason, it's just you have specific, and Digital Foundry did a thing on the lighting and how oh, this gas giant is putting out light and it's actually bathing this other planet you're on in its light because it's so big and everything. So like there's just a lot of like modernization of the engine and a modernization of like kind of how they're creating things. I think it's awesome. Like it looks really, really, really good. Aside from maybe that people look kind of janky still, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's a Bethesda game, right?
Yeah.
So you still get like as soon as they showed off some of the dialogue stuff, I'm like, oh, that's Fallout. Like how it camera pans right to their face and get the options. But I like Fallout, so that's not a problem for me.
But that's a perfect example of like how we were talking earlier about Fable, of like what makes Fable and like what makes like Elder Scroll or Bethesda game.
Yep.
But that's part of it is like the things that when I think of a Fallout, like I don't get jazzed over that, right? Like and obviously I wasn't jazzed about Starfield, but that's because in my mind it's like, okay, the combat's going to suck, but you have a lot of freedom, so there's that. And you can kind of go and do anything you want, which that's nice. It's open world, but like that means that the story's going to be pretty disjointed, and you're not going to really have like a strong guidance, so to speak, or you're going to get so sidetracked you're never going to like anything that's like, oh, there's a dragon that's going to impendingly destroy something. It's like, yeah, I'll wait 20 hours before I go deal with that,
Yeah.
This game is just like, if I didn't know it was Bethesda doing it, aside from to your point, like the zoomed in camera on like talking to somebody, if you were just looking at the dog fighting and the gunplay and like like moving around the world and just like the scenery and stuff like that, I would have known it was a Bethesda game. Yeah. And I think that's something to note.
Yes, 100% agree. So. Like when you look at it, you can see the DNA of Bethesda in it. But you're right. I think this is definitely a departure, and I think they're trying a lot of new things. I really think
8 years. Like that, it's been. I mean, that's a long time.
I really think what it boiled down to was there's so many systems. I mean, it was 40 minutes long. They talked about so many different things. They talked about the ship. They talked about the ship combat and flying itself, scanning the flora, getting resources, base building. Right, you can build a base on any planet. They talked about the main quest for your, who's going to be your main group and your explorers. They talked about side missions and stuff and different factions that you're going to see throughout the world. They talked about backgrounds and character creation, and they showed a lot of the combat and different options that you have. 1,000 planets and just a million different things. And it's just like, dude, there are so many systems. Yeah. This game might be really complicated. If they execute it well, though, this is a game for like anyone. Like you can really, assuming that it's executed well, it's well done and in depth. If you could be like a ship guy, you could be like really into the combat and stuff, or you could be like a role playing kind of person, which is like how I really like to play, where you talk your way through things and like you dialogue options. Man, give me the dialogue options. I love when I can make a decision or a choice that was not available before because I'm really good at speech.
I think it was, and I wasn't even thinking about this till right now. You make a very good point that for how many systems they have and everything that was working together and stuff, there wasn't really a lot of menus. Like, yeah, you had your shipbuilding menu and they were showing some things like the character creation and things like that, but like it seemed pretty integrated. Like it seemed like it wasn't overbearing where like there's so much going on. You have to keep track of so many things. You're just constant, like you're not playing the game. You're just keeping track of like a spreadsheet. That still might be how the game is. And they were just kind of like expertly hiding that. But like it looked interesting. And every single thing that they showed was like important and excited me. And that's like, normally it's like, oh, I'm really interested in the combat. I'm really interested in the dialogue options or whatever. But it was like every single thing they did, it was like, that's in this game? That's in this game? What? Like, that's pretty big. And like, I know we didn't like it. Like you say, like it was like, this isn't going to be be right. Like, this is going to be just bad. But like, man, if I'm not kind of jazzed for it now, which is a shame.
I think they totally won us over. And it got me really excited talking about the scenarios that play out. Like, oh, you can build your base here. And the people you meet, you can station them here. And you can have this enormous fleet, it kind of seems like, of like all these people. And
Yeah.
You kind of like are starting to know your crew and like, oh, Jamie's on this planet. Love that guy. He gives me such a boost to science, or things like that where you kind of craft your own story.
Yeah.
Really excite me, and it's cool, and everyone's going to have their own kind of individual adventure, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe like a Shadow of War kind of situation.
Sure.
Where you get together and you're like sharing your experience, and it's like, oh, dude, I had this orc that did this and that, and he came back, and you're like, oh, that's crazy, and I had this guy decapitated him and he came back somehow.
Yeah.
I hope you get that experience.
I think I mentioned it while the stream was going, is like, can you have those water cooler conversations, so to speak, of like, oh yeah, I was doing this and blah, blah, blah. Like, is it so different, so dependent on your play style, your playing, that like it's almost impossible to have another experience like another person?
But
or is it going to be, or like there's multiple things, right?
Yeah.
Like it could be, it's so unique that it's only for you, and I would love that personally. I think that's best case.
It's
scenario.
it's like a journey, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's best case. I think that you could run into the fact of this like multiverse situation where it's like, oh yeah, like you see the main thread line and it's like, but I picked this guy to do this and you picked this guy instead. And it's just like, it's the same story. It's just like, I went to this blue planet and you went to this red planet. And it's just like, it naturally just progresses that way. Or similar to how the Lord of the Rings stuff is like you start seeing the inner workings of it, where it's just like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, some things are starting to repeat, or I've been doing this for so long, like, or you start comparing notes and you're like, I can see how they would, like, you just start seeing behind the curtain, so to speak, of like all the cogs moving and how the game's made. Obviously I would love the first one where it's just like, no dude, we'll talk about it and we'll talk about like our experience, but like it's gonna be completely different. Like,
I kind of call that first scenario the D&D scenario.
Yeah,
because you know how you like talk to someone who's also played D&D, assuming you haven't played with them.
Yep.
And you're like, oh man, this one time this and this and this happened, and they're like, following along, and they're like, oh, that's really cool, but like they're not as passionate
they don't
about
get it.
Exactly. They're because they were not there, and
Yes.
that would be amazing if it's like people can relate. And they hear you out and they're like, that's super awesome. They acknowledge that. And then it's their turn to tell their story that they're way more passionate about than you are. Not to say that they don't care, but it's like you had to be their moment, right? Like you tell me about Journey and this amazing, incredible adventure that you had and realization and everything.
Or how me and my partner were taking on like a certain part of the level or something that could have been completely different. Yeah.
And it sounds awesome. And I can totally like respect that and see how that would be amazing, but I'll never have those goosebumps. I'll never have that realization. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. In the interview that he had with the dude from IGN, he was talking about Morrowind, I think.
Yeah.
And how he like found a unicorn in the forest and stuff. And
those it would be Oblivion, but
Oblivion, sorry.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that Bethesda's it's at its best. Those random encounters, those like. And it was cool, his response. He's like, I'm so excited to see what people find, how long it takes for people, because I'm sure there's like
1,000
planets. 1,000 planets and random encounters.
The
like, what if it's like a 0.00001% chance that this happens?
Right, sure.
That you're flying to a planet and it blows up or something.
Yep.
And then there's this quest line on the fallout of that.
If I was to bet, it would be like you have these like triggers, right? Or it's something where it's like enough planets are similar, or you can do like there's enough similar structure that it's like, okay, if you when you hit your 5th planet, this will play out for you, right? And I'm just guessing. I'm theorizing how this would work.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this will play out for you. You'll meet so-and-so on this planet because it's your 5th one, or because you hit a certain checkpoint. You could be on planet Alpha, Omega, 9 or whatever, and I could be on Zeta 2 shoes.
I love that one.
But because it's our 5th planet, like we each have the same experience. I think that they could do something there, and like I'm trying to wrap my head around just the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I like that approach more, where it's like I know that I'm going to be able to get everything, and I don't have to hit certain stuff.
Right.
Or is it literally like, no, man, if you go to the 1,000th planet, that's it. Like that's pretty cool.
How do you 100% this fucking game?
Yeah, well, that's
impossible, right?
That's what he was saying in the interview, where it's like, look, there will be people that will play the main storyline and be like, I beat Starfield.
Yeah.
He's like, that's fine. But there's also people that have been playing Skyrim for years and years and years and years and years. Also fine.
But people have 100% Skyrim.
Yeah.
This
Zach
is
did it.
1,000 planets, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it depends on what the achievement. I mean, that's just what's your achievement?
Like scan everything. Like,
yeah,
dude,
sure.
what?
Yeah.
Scan the whole entire universe.
It's
crazy.
7,000.
Wow.
7,000 things. If you
That'd
knock
cool,
out 2 planets a day for like
the rest of your life.
the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like it's
super cool.
He did talk a little bit about, because it's like, okay, what is procedurally generated? Like, I mean, that's not everyone knows that you can't
have to
just so he was saying that most planets and terrain and everything are all procedurally generated, which is cool. Like that's interesting that he was willing to give that up, but he also wasn't willing to give up like, what are the numbers of handcrafted content on these planets? How many planets are just barren? Like you go to a solar system, is one planet essentially Earth, and then everything else is just devoid of anything but minerals and resources?
I will say we know that there are at least like 5 planets with cities, right? Because they started showing off each of the cities.
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's more cities than that, or at least like small towns or something a little bit more than just like the wilderness, right? Like some civilized space. But yeah, I thought that was cool. They all had a different aesthetic. There's like a Western one. There was like a red light district kind of vibe, which I think is going to be one of my favorite planets. And I thought it was really cool.
I like the fact that you don't I think you can land anywhere, but you aren't going from space to ground.
Right.
So it's a way to somewhat like, okay, I'm at this planet. It's a new planet.
Now we can wrap our head around
Here's
it.
a list of your cities, or here's a list of the towns or places you can land of points of interest. I think that's good, and you can wrap your head around it. I think that's one thing I didn't love about No Man's Sky, where it's kind of neat because it's like the exploration's there, but there's a billion planets in that game. So it's just like at some point you really see the repetition.
Yeah.
So if they have stuff where it's like, hey man, I get it, 1,000 planets, curate that. Give me just list it out and let me know what I should be doing in this place so I'm not wasting my time. That's the biggest thing is like there's exploration and then there's like you're not gonna get a Zelda level of in Zelda explore, Elden Ring explore. You'll be rewarded. You know that your time is not like wasted. Hard for me to believe that's going to be in Starfield without some assistance.
Yeah, and the key to that is have enough there where you're constantly running into those little things, right?
Yeah.
Like, this leads to this, and what about that? And Diablo actually does this quite well. Like my friend Zach is really into Diablo 4, and he's like that type of guy where, I mean, totally different games, right? But I'm the concept of piece of candy. Another piece of candy. And he's like doing all these things and it's like that kind of exploration.
Yep.
The spacing is very important. So I agree with you there.
It's on a macro level versus micro. So when I think of exploration in Starfield, again, we're all theorizing. Until the game comes out, who knows?
Right.
My idea of exploration in Starfield is I'm going to pick one of 1,000 planets.
Yeah.
From there, that's when they're like, cool, you picked planet 54. Here's what's on planet 54.
Yeah.
Now pick what you want from there. It's like it's somewhat curated. Not, I'm picking planet 54. I go down to the surface, which this happens all the time in No Man's Sky. You go down to the surface, and it's bare. It's raining acid. You're going to die if you get out of your starship. Like, legit. Like, that's all it is. So it's like... we need some sort of curated, we need some sort of kind of like Bethesda charm there.
Yeah, exactly. So how cool would it be? It's raining acid, but then a little tooltip comes up. Hey, you can get a suit.
Sure.
Where now you can exploit, right?
Yeah.
And that's an interesting concept.
And you technically can. I don't want to minimize Star Citizen. I would love to know what's going through their mind.
I was going to say, so Bethesda just eats Star Citizen's lunch after that, right? Like just...
Oh, man. and Todd Howard touched on this, but he was like, you start this game, and this is at the beginning of the 8 years of development.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you realize, oh, this is why this game hasn't been
Which
made
is
yet.
100% what happened to them, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm extremely excited. I will tell you what I am most excited for in this game. I'm very much, I was thinking about today, John's shower thoughts.
Okay. TM.
TM? Oh, yeah,
trademark? Yeah.
Oh, brain not working anymore. I'm all about the immersion, man, especially in these kinds of games. Because for some reason, I was thinking about Cyberpunk, maybe because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And someone like Nate really wanted to be in third person because he likes seeing his character and and that totally makes sense. Respect that. I love the first person though. So in this game, it's interesting because you get the choice, right? Mm-hmm. Just like a Skyrim, just like a Fallout too, right? Fallout 4 was choice.
Yep.
I am that first person. I want to be in the game. I want to be immersed. You know what I mean? And I really think you get that with the first person element. So I'm most excited for like your background. They went into that quite a bit and character creation. I love a good background system. And what they showed off was pretty cool, how you get like 3 skills, kind of like a Shadowrun kind of deal, because they were showing off the special thing you could get, which gives you like a plus and a minus, which is, if anyone hasn't played Shadowrun, it's like a tabletop game, RPG. Mm-hmm. And they had this cool thing in character creation where you can pick these perks, but it also gives you down. Well, what they did is you have a certain amount of points, and then you can buy good perks, and then you can take bad perks to give you more points.
Yeah.
So I was an insomniac, which obviously is bad.
Yep.
But then I bought like Wheelman.
Yeah.
So I was like the best driver ever. So that was like and it was like in my backstory where I was just like hopped up all the time and like never, because I'm like so dialed in. It was cool. Love that character. One of my favorite character creations. I love that idea. And this kind of has that element, and they showed a little bit of that off.
I think the biggest issue that I have with those type of character creations, and you're putting all these points in these specs, and it's like you've never played the game before, so it's like, yeah, I would love to lockpick things.
Yeah.
Like, so I would like dump a ton of stuff into that. But if there's not a lot of locks to pick in the beginning, or at least it's like, I wish there was some sort of like pregame to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And then you make your character where it's like, oh, okay, this is how this is handled. This is what these stats are good for and not good for, or something, or like based off of how you play. And I think Oblivion does something similar to that, where it kind of gives you a little run through, and it's like, based off of your play style, we think this is your best bet or whatever. So if they could do something like that, which they might, who knows, right? Like, we don't know what the intro is. That would be super helpful for me before you're like, all right, I'm going to start my 1,000 planet playthrough, and you're locked into something that maybe you don't love, or you just keep starting over and
keep re-rolling. Yeah, I agree. I am usually pretty good at picking something, and maybe I'm just really lucky.
Yeah.
That works well for me personally. Mm-hmm. So I don't have that problem as often. But yeah, that's totally a valid concern. But some people like that. Some people just like my cousin's a good example. Like he'll
redo it
a million times till he finds something that really clicks with him. So yeah, we'll have to see. That's a cool idea. I hope that,
or at least they have terminology that you can understand, because that's the other pet peeve of mine, is they'll use like, oh, if you like pick, because it's like dex, right? It's like, oh, here's dex or strength or charisma or whatever. It's like, oh, input on charisma, and that will bump up your who'sy whatsies, and it's like you aren't part of that world yet. You don't understand the terminology that it's trying to do. So that's another part of it, where it's like, as long as you use plain English and you understand, like, it's like a simplistic way of saying, like, what do you actually gain from putting a point in this spec?
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking forward to.
I'm always extremely big on backgrounds incorporated into the world as well. And they kind of showcase like, oh, you were a cook. And they like are talking about orphan. That. Well, whatever the case may be. Now that was obviously like at the very beginning. So obviously they're going to mention something about that. So I hope that it's more, they showed off something else where it's like a side quest, and it's like you get this side quest because you were a beast hunter.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I hope there's a lot of that. Again, immersion that really brings me into the world, And I've talked about this a million times in my philosophy of games. Everyone wants to be special. You want to have a specialized thing, and your background should be a huge part of that. So
here's the main thing there, and because I know we got to wrap up here, but the main thing with that is do not give me FOMO. Do not have a character that's like, well, if you were a beast tamer, we could have just went out back and tamed something.
Hide it from me.
Yeah, just cool. I picked a pickpocket. They just don't talk to me, or they're just like, "Hey, nice haircut." Like, just move on, right?
Like if it's grayed out, you're saying,
yeah, don't give me the grayed out. Don't give me that stuff. Now, if it's possible for me to like get to that, it's like, oh, this person's not going to talk to you until your charisma's up higher or something. Different conversation. But if it's like background choices of like, oh, because you did this, you're never like this is blocked from you. Man, I hate that. So like that's a fine line. I get that, and like you want to know what else is out there, but like. Dude, start a character and like to your immersion point, like I want to be like this is my life. Like if I was in space, I'm just gonna meta play this like the entire time.
Yeah, 100%.
I know we're running out of time. Do we want to touch on the 30 FPS versus 60? I know that's important to some people.
Yeah, we definitely can. I know it affects us probably less.
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically. Can you imagine if it was locked at 30 for PC?
Well, it's definitely not locked on... Well, I shouldn't say definitely. They're very clear that it's locked on consoles.
Yes.
Both Xbox Series X and the S. So it's 30 frames. It's 4K. I don't know if they said native 4K, but they're saying 4K on Series X, 1440p on S, which honestly, even that is...
pretty good.
Pretty decent.
This was in the interview, by the way, so not in the...
yeah.
Obviously, didn't want to say that, but I'm glad he was forthcoming about that.
Well, so Phil Spencer was the one, whenever he was talking with, I think he was on like the kind of funny or something, but they asked him point blank, he's like, hey, when you're doing your show, will we get a definitive answer on the frame rate of Starfield? And Phil Spencer was like, yeah.
Okay.
And then IGN has like the exclusive, it's 30 frames.
Yeah.
The way that Todd Howard said is, hey, we didn't want to think about it. So like, yeah, there are some things that's going to be way over 30 and some you even hit 60, but then it's all these jumps and it's not consistent and stuff like that. So a consistent frame rate, you have the motion blur at very specific, like Digital Foundry is pointing out, like, oh, you can see here pixel wise, like it's individual motion blurs on like item versus scenery and stuff. So like it could look very smooth and look really nice. Not the end of the world. I mean, obviously it would still look better if you had all that and 60, it'd look better. But I think that Digital Foundry he explained it in the best way possible, where we are looking at all these games on Xbox that have been 60 frames or 120 frames or whatever. And he's like, the reason being is because we're in this kind of like hybrid system where we're still transitioning from an old system to a new system. These are older games. They're not taking advantage of like what the true next gen is. And Starfield could very well be the first truly next generation. Like this literally can't run on previous consoles. Like impossible with everything it's trying to do with all, and who knows, maybe it's all bullshit, but like this is doing so much and it's trying so many things. It's like, hey, there's a table in the trailer. There's a table full of 1 million sandwiches or whatever. Like each one of those has physics tied to it. Each one of those is dropped by the player. Each one of those is saved in the system memory of like, we know where that sandwich is no matter what you do for the like 1,000 other planets. We know where that sandwich is.
Yeah.
So like it doing that, we're getting to this point now that it's like, yeah, you're going to start seeing more and more games drop to 30 because they're trying to be ambitious. And then at the end of that cycle, and you move on to the next one, now all of these games are going to get like, oh, now it's 60, cool, like whatever. But that's the trade-off, right? So you either try these new, expansive, crazy, bigger than life things at the expense of 60 frames. And then they went on and said, like, look, it's at 4K, you could drop to 1080p. That's not going to help your frame rate because of all the processing power, because we think that it's processor intensive, has nothing to do with the graphics card. It's okay. I think that we'll put that up against our systems and see. And if it's well optimized, hopefully it'll run fine and it won't be matter. Like, and we'll get the 60 frames. But it's wild what they're doing with that. They just want the fidelity. Like you talked about immersion, they want the fidelity. They want it to look. I mean, it looked good. Like I've never seen like that first trailer. I was so down on. I thought it looked like hot garbage, and then suddenly they pull this out. I'm like, man, every vista they showed was like jaw dropping.
Yeah, it was cool, and I really like it. It seemed like they took a lot of the feedback maybe from the first.
Yeah, like I said, I need to go back and watch that original trailer. Maybe we just weren't seeing it right. Like maybe it was just
no,
like
we were because Todd talked about retooling the combat.
Yeah.
And things of that aspect. And to me, I mean, he didn't say it specifically, but to me, it seemed like, hey, we heard the feedback and we addressed those kinds of things, or maybe like we were aware of it, things like that.
Or the motion blur wasn't implemented, so it looked janky or it looked studdier.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's possible. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm glad they were, forthcoming, like I said, about it. I know Phil said they were going to talk about it, but yeah, I think it makes sense, right? It makes sense for what they want to do. They don't want to compromise, right? So they realize that it's very ambitious and you have to make a sacrifice somewhere, right? If you're going to have 1,000 planets, if you're going to do all this stuff, if it's going to look better than it's ever looked before, you got to have a sacrifice somewhere. So I think it's a fair ask from them. I'm really hoping the port for PC runs well, dude, because if it doesn't, it's going to be the saddest thing ever.
I mean, they know that, right? Like that's the thing is like they know what is riding on this. At least Phil Spencer does. Like it's just like,
and after that, dude, and I'm really hyped about it now because we were talking about Phil Spencer's interview a couple weeks ago, right? Where it's like, look, this game's not going to save us, blah blah blah. It's like, man, is he just playing everyone, man? Like.
Everything this is the thing that made me upset about that interview is everything he said was specifically geared towards we need that Microsoft or the Microsoft Activision merger.
Yeah.
We need that to go through.
Yeah.
So we're going to I'll take the lashes. I'll take all the crap and say whatever I need to say about us being last. Like they're in a strong position to do really well. Like we were talking about Game of the Year and how this is going up against Spider-Man 2. This is going up against the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Spider-Man, probably it looked really good. Like I'm sure it's going to get great marks. Zelda obviously got great marks. That's a 93 or 92 or whatever.
Zelda's a 97.
97?
Yeah.
Oh, but it's 3 points away from perfect.
Yeah.
Am I thinking about that? Okay. So perfect
it's the highest
example. Sure.
It's one of the highest games ever rated. Yeah.
So looking at that, it's like I put out there that Starfield, it's the Starfield is the Game of the Year is theirs to lose because Zelda is a known quantity. It's a sequel. It's a very good sequel, but it's still a sequel. It's doing a lot more than the first game, but it's still that novelty is gone. Right.
Right.
Like it's still kind of like a better version of it. Same with Spider-Man. Starfield is novel. It's new theoretically. Maybe when you play it, it's like, oh, this is like 3 other games mashed into one. Who knows?
Right.
But if they can pull it off, I think the novelty is going to carry them far, especially because it's September. Zelda came out
recency bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like you're going to get that extra thing too. So
the ceiling's higher, right? The ceiling's higher.
Yep.
This year has been crazy because you talked about the big 3. Mm-hmm. We haven't even mentioned Diablo 4, which I think in the conversation.
Hogwarts,
which just gets slept on.
Yep.
Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
Dead Space. Final Fantasy 16 is coming out.
Yep.
And Street Fighter 6 has resurrected that series. And that game is getting insane reviews.
Yeah.
To the point where I want to play it, and I'm going to play it because it looks so good.
Pull the trigger whenever you want.
It's like this is a stacked year. This is insane.
Yep.
Like those are all like contenders in one way or another.
Yeah.
Like you can start eliminating some of them probably, but I mean at least 5.
It's one of those years where like all these extra awards that you're putting out, either like best character, best moment, whatever, like all of these, it's not like you're throwing people bones. Like it's like all these other things are, oh, this could actually like anyone could take this. Like it's kind of cool. It's not like, oh, this award was clearly invented for like best crazy invention that you could do on a Zelda
best
thing,
cat.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. So like it's one of those like you can. I'll be very interested to see kind of how the year plays out.
I think it's shaping up to be an amazing Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm glad we picked this year. This is a great year for us to really, I don't want to say take it seriously because I think we took it seriously last year, but
like we're like really playing everything.
Dig down even more and make a conscious effort to hit more of those things. And I think we're on track to hit the big ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have a demo for Final Fantasy downloaded.
Queued up,
so,
yeah,
try
awesome. That. And I'm actually really glad Final Fantasy is coming out. So my PS5 is going to get use again, and Spider-Man's coming out. So 2 more games. I'll have 4 games total on the PS5. Because it feels bad. It's sitting there a lot of the time. I'm like, dude, I mean, that's an expensive
since Hogwarts, man.
Paperweight. Yeah. But glad those are coming out. That being said, I've been converted. Extremely excited for Starfield.
Yeah, and now we're going to get screwed like everyone. Like if it's bad, now we're going to be disappointed like everyone else.
We're with everyone else now. We're in the same boat. So at least that's something. I'm willing to say that it has gone to my most anticipated game this year.
Yes. Yep.
It wasn't before, but now it is.
Zach already got the controller. Controller looks sick.
Wow. It is like
cool. Yeah, like a
really cool. And the headset looks kind of smooth too.
Yep.
And the watch, kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm just not paying for a watch.
I'm not paying for a watch either, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. We've gone a long time.
Yep.
We're still a video game podcast, except on Apple.
Proof there.
Proofed. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for making it this far. That's awesome. Speaking of Apple, you can check us out. If you go to couchcompany.games, honestly, all of our links are there. Mm-hmm. Spotify, Apple. We're on YouTube. Google?
Oh, yeah, dude. Google.
We're everywhere.
Stitcher. Like, we're on like...
We're on places you haven't even heard of.
Yeah. Opencasts.
Check us out there. And then at Couchcode... oh, my gosh. At Couchcode Games.
Yep.
Twitter.
Yeah.
We had a poll recently. Maybe we'll save that for next time, the result of that.
We'll save that next time. That's a big hundo episode. We pull that off.
100 episodes coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much it. Yep. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks for joining us on the couch. Peace.